Chapter 759. Cloud 13 Nations, Cloud Nation. Sky Moon Mountain. On a green peak, Zhao Feng looked down at the Broken Moon clan. The orderly scene allowed him to enjoy a brief moment of peace and tranquility. After so many years, there were still many familiar faces in the clan. Many of these familiar faces were the bottom disciples of the clan, but now, many of them had reached the middle and upper echelons of the clan. Zhao Feng saw Lin Fan, the former top outer disciple who was now a vice-head of the inner clan with a cultivation of half-step true spirit realm. In his memories, that young and inexperienced girl, Ran Xiaoyuan, had now become a dignified and elegant female elder of the sect. In the past, Yang Qingshan and Nan Gongfan, who were both disciples of Lord Guanjuan, had become deacons. The current Broken Moon clan's strength was comparable to a half-star clan. Within the clan, there were more than 20 elders or division heads at the true spirit realm. In a corner of the Broken Moon clan, a man dressed in black was drunk, but no one in the 13 countries dared to underestimate him. He was the true Lord rank expert of the Broken Moon clan, True Lord Taishao. The other true Lord rank in the Broken Moon clan was Lin Tong, who had the heavenly absent eye. These two true Lord ranks had either been enslaved by Zhao Feng or had betrayed him by signing a blood contract. In reality, when Zhao Feng returned to the Azure Flower continent, Lin Tong and true Lord Taishao both felt something. The former came from the Dark Heart Seed and the latter from the blood contract. Brother Zhao. The voice of a male sounded from the side. The person who had come was Yang Gan, the current clan master of the Broken Moon clan. Brother Yang. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. Yang Gan and him were both disciples of the first elder of the Broken Moon clan, and their relationship back then could be considered to be good. Junior brother Zhao, now that you've returned, you seem somewhat different from before. Yang Gan said with a weird tone. In Yang Gan's eyes, Zhao Feng was a cultivation maniac, and last time he came back, he was always in a hurry. But this time, Zhao Feng had been back for more than 10 days, and most of the time he was very relaxed. Ever since I came back, Zhao Feng didn't cultivate. Instead, he wandered around. Coupled with his sickly appearance, he looked like a terminally ill person who had returned to his hometown to recuperate. Zhao Feng smiled and did not explain anything. Subsequently, Zhao Feng and Yang Gan walked around the Broken Moon clan for a while. Greetings, sect master. Along the way, some sect members and disciples bowed respectfully. Some of the new disciples didn't know who Zhao Feng was, so they looked at him curiously. Those old peoples who knew Zhao Feng all looked at him with awe and respect. Their respect for him was even above that of the sect master. On the way, Zhao Feng played chess with Elder Zhang and Elder Guan, the two vice hall masters who used to be his teachers and friends. During the conversation, the two old men still felt it was a pity that Zhao Feng did not enter the Tao of Alchemy or Array Refining. 10 in the evening, Zhao Feng and Yang Gan arrived at First Elder's palace. The Great Elder's missing arm was replaced by a silver-green metal arm. This was the Wheel of Light and Darkness that Zhao Feng had forged for his master last time. First Elder's cultivation was half a step away from the True Lord rank, and with this Wheel of Light and Darkness, he could even fight against True Lord ranks. Zhao Feng did not think of any way to increase the cultivation of his friends and family upon his return. The path of cultivation was dangerous, and not everyone could kill their way into the outside world. Sometimes, being a frog at the bottom of a well was a blessing. Of course, when Zhao Feng returned this time, he brought a gift for his two masters and his parents, the Immortal Springs wine. The Immortal Springs wine could increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years and change one's body. With the help of the Immortal Springs wine, First Elder and Company's state of existence would be comparable to or even surpass the Origin Core realm. Feng, the Scarlet Moon demonic religion has swept across the continent, but the cloud area hasn't been affected much. But the continent is suffering. If it's possible, you should do your part. First Elder said. This time, Zhao Feng's level had exceeded his imagination. This could be seen from the Immortal Springs wine that he had given him. Master, don't worry. I've already sent a servant to subdue the Scarlet Moon demonic religion. Zhao Feng took a sip of the peak-grade spiritual wine he had brought from the outside world. Meow meow. The little thieving cat next to him also hugged the wine jug with a drunken expression. First Elder and Yang Gon exchanged glances with each other. They were both shocked and confused. Was Zhao Feng really so arrogant to think that he could subdue the Scarlet Moon demonic religion with just a servant? However, they knew that Zhao Feng wasn't arrogant. Maybe the Scarlet Moon demonic religion didn't have the right for Zhao Feng to take action. The second day, Zhao Feng left the Broken Moon clan and met with the elders of the Dragon Killing Alliance. Although the cloud area was far away, its overall strength wasn't to be underestimated. Among them, the Dragon Killing Alliance controlled the territories of 2 former strong countries, and their headquarters were stationed in the Cloud Country. From Elder Su, Zhao Feng understood the Scarlet Moon demonic religion's influence on the cloud area. Overall, the cloud area lacked resources and was far away. It wasn't the focus of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion anymore. The Skeletal Division leader's forces in the cloud area had been uprooted by Zhao Feng, so the cloud area was relatively peaceful. Occasionally, some remnants of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion would escape to the cloud area and be killed by the Dragon Killing Alliance. Several days later, Zhao Feng went to spend time with his parents and Lord Guanjuan. Everyone that knew Zhao Feng felt weird. When did the cultivation maniac become so relaxed? I'll spend the rest of my time with Master, my parents, my brothers, and my friends. In the dead of night, Zhao Feng looked at the stars. After the matters in the Azure Flower continent were finished, Zhao Feng would head to the continent zone. From now on, everything in the Azure Flower continent would become further and further away from Zhao Feng. Before this, Zhao Feng was enjoying the peace that he hadn't had in a long time as he accompanied his friends and teachers. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Feng stayed in the cloud area for a month or two. In this month or two, Zhao Feng's footprints were all over the cloud area, but he still focused on the places that had left a deep impression on him. During this period, Zhao Feng had stayed in Sunfeather City and Green Leaf Village for a few days. Zhao Feng had even used a special method to enter the Floating Crest Palace. Floating Crest Palace. An inheritance of this level wasn't enough to enter Zhao Feng's eyes. Under the little thieving cat's request, Zhao Feng once again entered the depths of the Floating Crest Palace, where he had obtained the Yin Shadow Cloak and the little thieving cat's egg. Up until now, there were still a few treasures in the treasury that were good for sovereigns. Zhao Feng analyzed that the original owner of the Floating Crest Palace was at least a half-step king. It looks like the little thieving cat's egg was just a coincidence. Zhao Feng murmured. The original owner of the Floating Crest Palace loved to collect, and some items that couldn't be identified or were made of special materials were also put into the treasury. There were also some decent treasures in the treasury as well as other areas of the Floating Crest Palace. However, Zhao Feng didn't touch them and left them for later generations. Not only did he not take anything, he even added some inheritances or treasures into the Floating Crest Palace. Some of the spoils of war from the sovereigns and kings were useless to Zhao Feng, so he left them in the Floating Crest Palace. On this day, Zhao Feng was lying on a hill in the Broken Moon clan when he suddenly sensed something. Zhao Feng felt the auras of several kings descend upon the Azure Flower continent, but they soon faded away. They're finally here? Zhao Feng smiled lightly as his relaxed expression disappeared. Shua. Zhao Feng's figure flashed and disappeared from the Broken Moon clan. A while later, Zhao Feng found a sexy girl in a red dress somewhere in the Cloud Country. It was Zhuangwan. Zhao Feng, the Grand Elder of the Moon Demon Palace, has come to the Azure Flower continent. The Grand Elder says he wants to talk to you. Zhuangwan held a message token in her hand and said carefully. Talk? Does the Moon Demon Palace have 3 kings? Zhao Feng smiled. Zhuangwan was speechless. The Moon Demon Palace only had 1 Void God Realm king. If they really wanted to talk, the Moon Demon Palace wouldn't invite Void God Realm kings from other forces. Zhuangwan glanced at Zhao Feng and found that the latter was still relaxed and calm. The Grand Elder is currently in the Sacred Alliance. Zhuangwan added. Zhao Feng said goodbye to his friends in the cloud area without hesitation and left the cloud area with Zhuangwan. When they passed by the Canopy Great Country, Zhao Feng found that the situation in the Azure Flower continent had changed. The skeletal division leader had subdued many elites of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion and killed anyone who didn't obey. Through the Dark Heart Seed, Zhao Feng knew that the skeletal division leader had subdued the forces of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion in the western and southern continents and was fighting with the Scarlet Moon demonic religion in the middle continent. In front of the cursed ghost corpses, all obstacles were useless. The skeletal division leader only used a dozen or so cursed ghost corpses to dominate the Azure Flower continent. At the same time, under the attacks of the Sacred Alliance, the Scarlet Moon demonic religion was losing ground. Apart from the Scarlet Moon Patriarch, the Scarlet Moon demonic religion was basically destroyed. On this day, Zhao Feng entered the Middle Continent and arrived at the Sacred Alliance. From far away, Zhao Feng could feel powerful auras. The strongest were the 3 king auras, and the rest were the origin core realm experts of the Sacred Alliance and the 10 great clans. Within a grand hall of the Sacred Alliance, reporting to Grand Elder, Zhao Feng and Zhuang Wan have arrived. The Blood Moon Elder from the Moon Demon Palace held a message token in his hand and bowed. At the center of the hall wasn't the palace master or the core members of the Sacred Alliance, but 3 magnificent power. On the left was a golden skeleton with a deathly aura, and on the right was a demonic Tao King surrounded by black air. In the middle was a female dressed in moon robes. A pure and dignified woman in a moon robe appeared. She was like a goddess of the stars and moon, and her aura suppressed the other 2 kings. The existence of these 3 magnificent powers caused the entire Sacred Alliance to become deathly silent. The Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi seemed to freeze in this area. Below them were the upper echelons of the Sacred Alliance, including the Bronze Skin Giant, Sovereign Yu Xingchen, Dao Sovereign White Cloud, and company. However, these supreme experts of the continent didn't even dare to breathe loudly at this moment. They were filled with fear and trepidation. These 3 Void God Realm Kings were originally from the neighboring Tianlu Island zone, but they had suddenly arrived at the Sacred Alliance. What did that Zhao Feng do to make these 3 kings descend? The upper echelons of the Sacred Alliance were uneasy. Behind Sovereign Yu Xingchen stood a black-haired youth with eyes as deep as the stars. Under the pressure of the magnificent power, Yu Tianhao had a slightly angry expression, but he was stopped by his father. Hao, don't be rash. One wrong thought from these 3 kings can affect the survival of the Azure Flower continent. Chapter 760. Under the radiance of the 3 monarchs, the entire hall fell into a deathly silence and pressure. The upper echelon of the Sacred Alliance were all sovereigns of the Azure Flower continent. All of them were at the Origin Core realm, and many of them came from the 10 great clans. However, at this moment, no one dared to breathe loudly. 3 Void God Realm Kings had come from the Little Azure Flower continent, and they all represented a 2-star sect. All of this was because Zhao Feng had kidnapped a peerless genius of the Moon Demon Palace. The latter had a blood relationship with the Grand Elder of the Moon Demon Palace. The 3 kings sat at the top of the hall, and it was impossible to see their expressions. They only waited silently and didn't purposely release any aura, but the atmosphere in the hall became heavy. Half the time it took to make tea later. The sound of flying came from the sky. A couple breaths later, a male and female landed in front of the hall. One was a purple-haired youth, and the other was a beautiful girl. Zhao Feng, the upper echelon of the Sacred Alliance, exclaimed. A man and a woman walked into the hall unhurriedly. Zhao Feng had a casual expression as if he was taking a stroll, but Zhuang Wan was slightly uneasy. However, when Zhuang Wan saw the 3 kings, she let out a breath. However, she still didn't dare to act rashly. Zhuang Wan knew that Zhao Feng had already sensed the auras of the 3 kings, but he still calmly came. She wouldn't believe that Zhao Feng didn't have anything to rely on. Zhao Feng, we finally meet. A gentle female voice that sounded like the sounds of nature came from the person in the middle of the 3 kings. It was a pure and holy female in moon robes. Her every action gave off the feeling of a goddess. Saint Moon Ant Goddess. Zhao Feng looked at the moon-robed female and said calmly. The female in front of him reminded him of Yenyu in the Purple Saint ruins. Yi Yanyu was the disciple of the Saint Moon Ant Goddess. Back then, when Yi Yanyu used the Void God protection, Zhao Feng had seen the outline of the Saint Moon Ant Goddess. In the main hall, the conversation between Zhao Feng and the Saint Moon Ant Goddess caused a ripple in the crowd. Their gazes met for a brief moment in midair. Zhao Feng's eyes were sharp and seemed to have the power to pierce through one's soul. The Saint Moon Ant Goddess's beautiful eyes were gentle and calm. This was out of the Sacred Alliance's expectation. When the three kings saw Zhao Feng, they didn't immediately question him or punish him. The meeting between the two was much more gentle than he had imagined, as if they were old friends who had not seen each other for many years. Zhuang Wan was even standing behind Zhao Feng. This kind of atmosphere was very strange. The upper echelons of the Sacred Alliance exchanged glances with each other, vaguely having their own guesses. It wasn't hard to see that the three kings were somewhat wary of Zhao Feng. Could it be that the rumors were true and that Zhao Feng had already become a Void God Realm king? However, even so, facing three veteran Faux God Realm kings with powerful two-star sects behind them, Zhao Feng should be the weaker side. Zhao Feng, the expression of the demonic Dao King on the side was grim. I heard that you threatened our core disciple and even threatened to destroy the Moon Demon Palace. Instantly, the hall, which had just calmed down, became tense. The demonic Dao King was wearing a set of black armor, and there was a scarlet-black moon mark on his forehead. A magnificent power of the demonic Dao covered the hall. The hearts of the upper echelons of the Sacred Alliance jumped. That's right, I said that. This time, I hope that you can give us an explanation for taking the Azure Flower Continent. Zhao Feng stood with his hands behind his back as he slowly walked forward. Brat, don't think that the Moon Demon Palace is wary of you just because you've become a king. The demonic Dao King roared. Zhizhou, what big words. The Black Cliff Palace's golden skeleton king laughed weirdly. Only the Saint Moon Ant Goddess in the middle had a calm expression. She raised her hand slightly, stopping the other two kings from attacking in anger. Zhao Feng's face was still calm, but there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Zhao Feng, the Saint Moon Ant Goddess said, "We know that you're the disciple of Emperor Duanmu, but according to what I know, Duanmu Qing left the Tsang Ocean long ago." As soon as these words were spoken, a commotion arose in the crowd once more. The upper echelons of the Sacred Alliance were shocked. They hadn't thought that Zhao Feng was the disciple of an emperor. Could it be that you, a newly ascended king, wants to become enemies with three two-star sects? Even if you're not afraid, the Azure Flower Continent is innocent. The Saint Moon Ant Goddess had a faint smile on her face. But the power in her words made Zhao Feng's heart tremble for the first time. Of the three kings, the Saint Moon Ant Goddess was the hardest to deal with. Her cultivation had reached the peak of the king level, and the Pure Moon Spiritual Sect was a 2.5-star sect. They definitely had more than one king. Are you threatening me? It looks like the lesson that Master gave you wasn't enough. Zhao Feng's expression turned cold. The expressions of the three kings changed. They hadn't thought that Zhao Feng would be so domineering. But Emperor Duanmu had indeed taught them a lesson. Zhao Feng, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Hand over Zhuang Wan, and we won't harm anyone here. The demonic Path King said in a deep voice. The three kings stared at Zhao Feng. The upper echelons of the Sacred Alliance in the hall were overjoyed and surprised. The three kings had come to negotiate with Zhao Feng. If Zhuang Wan could be traded for the safety of so many people, it was definitely worth it. Are you still threatening me? Zhao Feng's expression darkened, and his purple hair rose without any wind. A formless chill spread throughout the hall. Even the three kings felt an indescribable unease. The kings exchanged glances with each other, and their expressions were solemn. Firstly, Emperor Duanmu's power was still fresh in their minds. Secondly, the three kings couldn't see through Zhao Feng at this moment. They had seen Zhao Feng's eye bloodline before. He had killed Origin Core Realms when he was at the True Lord rank. Even the pursuit of death hadn't taken his life. At this moment, the news of Zhao Feng killing the Emperor of Death hadn't reached the island zone yet. Only a small number of people in the true martial spiritual zone knew. Otherwise, the three kings probably wouldn't even have the courage to negotiate. Zhao Feng, as long as you hand over Zhuang Wan, we promise that we won't touch the Azure Flower Continent. The Saint Moon Ant Goddess made her final concession with a serious expression. Next to her, the Demonic Path King and the Golden Skeleton suppressed their anger and were about to explode. Zhao Feng, just agree to the three kings. The sovereigns of the Sacred Alliance couldn't help but speak. Zhao Feng, don't be impulsive. You can't joke around with the survival of the Azure Flower Continent. Dao Sovereign Bai Yun advised. Zhao Feng's gaze scanned over the upper echelon of the Sacred Alliance, but it only paused on Yu Tianhao for an instant. For the Sacred Alliance. The negotiations of the three kings were already lowering their heads and showing the greatest tolerance and concessions. On the other hand, Zhao Feng had been extremely domineering from start to finish. For a new overwhelming prodigy to do this was already a miracle, and it would be recorded in the history of the Azure Flower Continent. Fine, I'll do the trade. Zhao Feng thought for a moment before agreeing. He gently waved his hand, and a surge of magnificent power pushed Zhuang Wan in front of the three kings. The three kings were slightly surprised. They didn't think that Zhao Feng would suddenly agree. They nodded their heads and let the upper echelon of the Sacred Alliance leave the hall. However, Zhao Feng stood still and stared at the Demonic Path King, making the latter's hairs stand on end. Zhao Feng, do you want to go back on your promise? The Demonic Path King said. Hee, go back on my promise? I handed over Zhuang Wan, just then. I didn't go back on my promise. Zhao Feng revealed a mischievous smile. No. The three kings paused. The hearts of the upper echelon of the alliance that had just left the hall went cold. Could it be that Zhao Feng wanted to add something after the trade and wasn't willing to let it go? Everyone, retreat. The upper echelon of the Sacred Alliance retreated, afraid that they would be dragged into the battle between the kings. Only one person stayed behind. He turned around and returned to the hall, standing next to Zhao Feng. How? Yu Xingqian's expression changed, but he couldn't stop him. Soon, only two overwhelming prodigies were left in the hall, facing the three kings. Boom! The entire hall turned to dust as the magnificent power of several kings landed. The powerful shockwave caused the upper echelons of the Sacred Alliance to flee far away from the scene of the incident. However, they still couldn't help but look back. Only to see. The magnificent power of the three kings floated in the air as they roared. Yu Tianhao? Zhao Feng didn't bother with the three kings and looked toward Yu Tianhao. Zhao Feng, don't think that I'm a burden. It's not difficult for me to deal with a king. Yu Tianhao said. The intent of a half-step king radiated from his body as he activated his unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline. His battle intent surged toward a void god realm king. Zhao Feng, what do you want? The Saint Moon Ant Goddess said unhappily. I already said that the Moon Demon Palace needs to give us an explanation for encroaching on the Azure Flower Continent. Otherwise, the Moon Demon Palace will be removed from the Tsang Ocean within 100 days. Zhao Feng's tone became colder. Zhao Feng, don't go too far. The demonic Dao King's face was dark and gloomy, and his rage reached his head as he sent a wave of demonic Dao energy crashing toward Zhao Feng. A part of the sky was covered by scarlet-black demonic flames, and a chaotic spatial domain appeared. Zhao Feng snickered coldly as his eye intent pierced through heaven and earth. Boom! The magnificent power formed by the demonic Dao King seemed to be struck by 10,000 bolts of lightning and instantly turned into ashes. An intent that surpassed the 9 heavens slammed into the demonic Dao King. Instantly, the three monarchs all felt an irresistible power of heaven and earth, and a rumbling sound came from their souls. What? The demonic Dao King instantly spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face paled. Emperor Intent, the Saint Moon Ant Goddess and the Golden Skeleton exclaimed. Then, Zhao Feng took a step forward and slowly raised his hand. Broom. Heaven and earth seemed to tremble, and one could faintly see terrifying lightning ripples with the naked eye. An immortal and undying destructive tribulation lightning aura made the souls of the three kings tremble. Pluck. The demonic Dao King from the Moon Demon Palace fell from the sky, and he knelt on the ground as if his body had been struck by lightning. Emperor Zhaofeng, please show mercy. The Saint Moon Ant Goddess and the other two felt as if they had fallen into an abyss. In their shock, they begged. Chapter 761. Emperor Zhaofeng, please have mercy. The Saint Moon Ant Goddess paled, and the Golden Skeleton King was scared out of his wits. Emperor intent? Pow. The demonic Tao King's face was as white as paper, and his body was covered in scars as if he had lost his soul. Not far away, Zhuang Wan was completely dazed. In just 1 or 2 breaths, the team of the 3 kings had collapsed and surrendered. This completely overturned Zhuang Wan's common sense. Zhuang Wan doubted her own eyes when she saw the Grand Elder's terrified and dejected appearance and the other 2 kings' expressions of shock and respect. Were those 3 still the unreachable void god realm kings in her eyes? Emperor intent. Yu Tianhao's heart shook. He had barely comprehended half-step king intent recently, and Zhaofeng, who was right next to him, had comprehended emperor intent. With the appearance of emperor intent, the 3 kings lost their will to fight and surrendered. Emperor Zhao, if you have any conditions, please state them. The Saint Moon Ant Goddess forced herself to remain calm and had a respectful expression. Zhao Feng's eyes were still locked onto the demonic Tao King of the Moon Demon Palace. The strength that Zhao Feng displayed just now was something that the 3 kings had personally experienced. With just one intent, he had injured the soul of a domain-level king, and with just a wave of his hand, he had injured the demonic Tao King. Regardless of whether or not Zhao Feng had the cultivation of an emperor, just the methods just now meant that even if the 3 kings teamed up, they wouldn't be his match. How strong was a great emperor? Back in the 18 Corners pirate sacred land, so many pirate kings teamed up and were suppressed by Emperor Mu Yun. The 3 kings in front of them were weaker than the peak-tier kings and domain-level kings of the pirate sacred land. Emperor Zhao, the Moon Demon Palace will make up for the losses we have brought to the Azure Flower Continent. On behalf of the Moon Demon Palace, I sincerely apologize to you and the people of the Azure Flower Continent. The demonic Tao King took a deep breath and half knelt on the ground. His life or death was in Zhao Feng's hands. It wouldn't be too difficult for Zhao Feng to destroy the Moon Demon Palace, and the Pure Moon Spiritual Sect and Black Cliff Palace wouldn't dare to help. That's more like it? Zhao Feng nodded slightly. What he needed was an explanation from the Moon Demon Palace without losing the deal. Hearing this, the 3 kings let out a breath in relief. At the same time, in the distance, the venerables of the Sacred Alliance were watching the situation with interesting expressions. In the sky, in front of Zhao Feng, the 3 kings were filled with fear and trepidation. Who has the blood contract scroll? Zhao Feng suddenly spoke. His voice echoed in the void. I do. Dao Master Bai Yun of the Sacred Alliance reacted and handed over a blank blood contract scroll. The Blood Pact scroll had been created by the Heaven's Legacy race, and it was relatively rare to find one in the world. Usually, this scroll would only be used under special circumstances. Blood Pact? The expressions of the 3 kings changed slightly. Zhao Feng took the blank blood contract scroll and stated his conditions. After a while, Zhao Feng signed a blood contract with the 3 kings. The content of the contract was the 3 sects, including the 3 kings, were not allowed to invade the Azure Flower Continent in the future. Not only that, they had to protect the Azure Flower Continent if it needed help. Correspondingly, Zhao Feng was not allowed to harm the 3 sects for no reason, and when the 3 sects were in danger, he had to help them to the best of his abilities. Both parties had to abide by the blood contract and fulfill their obligations. In reality, after signing the blood contract, the 3 sects were overjoyed instead of worried. But what they didn't know was that Zhao Feng would head to the continent zone after dealing with the Azure Flower Continent. The content of the contract was, to the best of his abilities. When the time came, Zhao Feng would be in the continent zone and wouldn't be able to take care of this. After completing the blood contract, the 3 kings left dejectedly. After returning to the Tianlu Island zone, the 3 kings immediately ordered the Azure Flower Continent to become a forbidden zone. Half a month after the matter was settled, the 3 kings received a shocking piece of news. A peerless expert called the Left-Eyed Heavenly Emperor had chased after the Emperor of Death and killed the Emperor of Death after a great battle. Hearing this news, the three kings' scalps went numb, and they felt like they were sitting on pins and needles. No matter how slow they were, they could confirm that the Left-Eyed Heavenly Emperor was Zhao Feng. After hearing this news, the three kings didn't dare to have any more thoughts. At the same time, in this half a month, the battle between the Scarlet Moon demonic religion and the Azure Flower continent came to an end. 50% of the demonic religion's forces were absorbed by the Skeletal Division leader, and the remaining 50% were killed. However, after the Scarlet Moon demonic religion was destroyed, there was still no news of the Scarlet Moon Patriarch. The Skeletal Division leader and the Sacred Alliance were all trying to find the Scarlet Moon Patriarch. Their hard work paid off. On this day, in the extreme north of the northern continent, a sovereign finally found some clues about the Scarlet Moon Patriarch. The Skeletal Division leader was the first to arrive. Some of the upper echelon elites of the Sacred Alliance arrived in the extreme north and started to narrow down the search area. In the extreme north, near a glacier, experts from all over the continent surrounded the area within a radius of a few hundred miles. The weakest of these experts was at the True Lord rank. Scarlet Moon Patriarch, come out and die. Scarlet Moon Patriarch, we know you're under the glacier. More than 20 sovereigns had arrived at the glacier. More than half of the sovereigns from the Azure Flower continent had arrived. Among them, the Skeletal Division leader floated in the air and had a complex expression in its eyes. All the clues confirmed that the Scarlet Moon Patriarch was hiding in this area. Bunch of ants. You're all courting death. An extremely cold voice resounded across several hundred miles. A layer of scarlet blood instantly flowed in the air, dyeing the sky above the glaciers with a layer of blood. Boom! The entire glacier instantly shattered into thousands of pieces amidst a vast blood-colored light. Countless ice rocks and shockwaves swept out for hundreds of miles. Many True Lord ranks were injured in the explosion. Only Venerable Realm experts could barely withstand that round of impact. In the next instant, a demon with a pair of blood-colored wings appeared in the air. There was a scarlet moon on its forehead as it gazed at the sky. From afar, it looked like a scarlet-winged demonic god. Watch out. This Scarlet Moon Patriarch's cultivation is extremely close to that of a king. Near the glacier, the group of continent's peak overlords were on high alert. What they were facing was the most famous demon in the last few hundred years of the Azure Flower continent. The Scarlet Moon Patriarch was around 50 to 60 years old, but he was tall and had a pair of blood-colored wings on his back. His eyes were like scarlet stars. Wherever his gaze landed, the peak-tier martial artists were greatly shaken. Division Leader Yogu, how dare you betray me? The Scarlet Moon Patriarch's gaze landed on the Skeletal Division leader, and a cold light flashed through his eyes. The cold and deadly voice made the Skeletal Division leader's heart go cold. The Scarlet Moon Patriarch's prestige hadn't been completely erased yet. Looking at the Scarlet Moon Patriarch's aura, even though his cultivation hadn't reached the Void God realm, his battle power was comparable to a normal king. If it was one-on-one, the Skeletal Division leader's chances of winning would be small. Patriarch, I advise you to surrender. If it's possible, I'll ask Master to give you a chance to live. The Skeletal Division leader sighed. No matter what, the Scarlet Moon Patriarch was someone it respected in the past. However, their positions were different today. The Skeletal Division leader knew that Zhao Feng was also paying attention to the situation here. If the Scarlet Moon Patriarch resisted, he wouldn't be able to live even if he managed to escape. Master? Even if I die, I won't become someone else's slave. The Scarlet Moon Patriarch snickered coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, the blood-colored wings on his back flapped and turned into a storm that shot into the sky. However, if he wanted to escape, the Skeletal Division leader would be the first to face him. Of everyone present, the Skeletal Division leader's cultivation was the closest to his. As long as he could severely injure or kill the Skeletal Division leader, his chances of escaping would increase dramatically. Everyone back off. The Skeletal Division leader roared as an array flag appeared in its hand. In that instant, Only the Skeletal Division leader and the Scarlet Moon Patriarch were left in the air. A thick layer of ghost corpse flames appeared in the air and radiated a terrifying aura of death and hatred. 100 pairs of blood-red eyes appeared within the ghost corpse flames. Ghost corpse cursed array. You actually used the 100 graves forbidden ground. The expression of the Scarlet Moon Patriarch changed dramatically. The aura of death radiating from the ghost corpse flames was more than 1,000 times stronger than the 100 graves forbidden ground from back then. Every single cursed ghost corpse was close to the Great Origin Core realm. Just the 100 pairs of blood-red eyes were enough to almost shatter the Scarlet Moon Patriarch's soul. The Scarlet Moon Patriarch's heart shook. This wasn't something the Skeletal Division leader could do. However, he had still underestimated the ghost corpse cursed array's power. This array had absorbed the soul essences of many kings and hundreds of primal core realms. A ghastly white hand radiating an aura of death reached out from the ghost corpse flames and grabbed toward the Scarlet Moon Patriarch. Arg! The Scarlet Moon Patriarch screamed as he was grabbed by the ghost hand. A horrifying scene appeared. The Scarlet Moon Patriarch's body started to wither and rot at a visible rate. In just a few breaths, the Scarlet Moon Patriarch had turned into a puddle of blood, and his flesh and soul was absorbed by the ghost corpse cursed array. Near the glacier, the top elites and peak experts from all over the continent sucked in a cold breath. The upper echelon of the Sacred Alliance trembled, and wariness appeared in their eyes. The elites of the Scarlet Moon Patriarch that had been subdued by the Skeletal Division leader were filled with fear and respect. It was hard to imagine that the Scarlet Moon Patriarch, whose name had shaken the world, was killed by the Skeletal Division leader's array without even being able to fight back. After this battle, the Skeletal Division leader's name spread across the continent. It had taken over the Scarlet Moon demonic religion, created the Scarlet Moon Palace, and became a forbidden figure in the Azure Flower continent. However, only a small number of people knew that the Skeletal Division leader was Zhao Feng's servant. Canopy Great Country, Iron Blood Religion. An ice blue screen showed the scene of the Scarlet Moon Patriarch turning into a puddle of blood. Patriarch Hong and Tiamat were stunned and couldn't calm down for a long time. The matters in the Azure Flower continent are pretty much over. Zhao Feng waved his hand, and the screen disappeared. Chapter 762. Canopy Great Country, in a barren desert. A black-haired man and a purple-haired youth faced each other from afar. Their robes fluttered freely in the sandstorm that filled the sky. Zhao Feng, I didn't think that the difference between us would be so big. However, I still want to fight. Yu Tianhao's voice was low, but a strong fighting spirit surged in his deep black eyes. Under the stimulation of this battle intent, Yu Tianhao's essence, energy, and soul all grew stronger, and his half-step king will also rose. Facing such an unyielding opponent, Zhao Feng sighed in his heart and admired him. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't have the courage to fight against such a difference. Yu Tianhao, our promise of 10 years isn't up yet? Zhao Feng smiled, a carefree expression on his face. 7 years had passed since the battle near the Iron Blood religion. 10 years wasn't enough. I'm about to go to the Yu family in the continent zone. I don't know how long this trip will take. Since we've met, let's fight in advance. Yu Tianhao obviously knew that the time wasn't up yet. However, the powerful Zhao Feng had ignited his bloodline's potential. Continent zone? Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled, but he didn't say anything. Slowly, the auras of the two started to spread in the sandstorm. A magnificent power of the Void God realm appeared from Zhao Feng's body and connected heaven and earth. The magnificent power of an emperor allowed him to stand at the top. Just in terms of aura alone, Yu Tianhao was at a disadvantage and felt like he was suffocating. However, his will to fight was unyielding and undying. He would become stronger the stronger he met, the stronger he was. If it was a normal half-step king, they probably wouldn't even have the thought to resist. However, Yu Tianhao could still resist and continue to ignite his battle intent. There's such a powerful and unique bloodline outside of the 10,000 ancient races? Zhao Feng exclaimed. The fan universe's bloodline isn't the only one in the 10,000 ancient races. When you get to the continent zone, you'll know that there's an imperial bloodline. Yu Tianhao harumphed coldly. Imperial path bloodline list? Zhao Feng recalled that there was indeed an imperial Dao bloodline ranking in his database of memories, but he hadn't paid much attention to it. That was because the imperial bloodline ranking did not originate from the Archaic era. Instead, it was some bloodlines that were born after the Archaic era. The bloodlines of the 10,000 ancient races are on the verge of extinction. On the other hand, the imperial Dao bloodline rankings are constantly competing, and only the strong survive. Yu Tianhao's voice revealed a strong sense of confidence. Everyone knew that the 10,000 ancient races came from the immemorial era. However, it was not necessarily the case that the more ancient it was, the more powerful it would be. For example, the 8 great god eyes were born after the ancient era, when the fan universe first opened. Of course, the 8 great god eyes were also closely related to the ancient era. As time progressed, the bloodlines of the 10,000 races became thinner and thinner, while the bloodlines of the later generations continued to evolve or mutate. The heaven-battling bloodline comes from the imperial Dao bloodline and isn't any weaker than the 10,000 ancient races. My unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline is one of the best imperial bloodlines. As soon as Yu Tianhao finished his words, the bloodline factor in his body began to burn. Wu, an ancient and mysterious icy shadow in the shape of a human, overlapped with Yu Tianhao's body. Instantly, Yu Tianhao's actions were exactly the same as the icy cold shadow behind him. His every action contained battle intent that could make gods and ghosts weep, and he destroyed all the power around him. Boom! The magnificent power nearby started to shake, and a part of it was even torn apart. In that instant, Yu Tianhao seemed to be possessed by the god of war, and the air around him was covered in a dominating orange light that shot into the sky. If it was a normal magnificent power, it would have been pushed away by Yu Tianhao's power. Heaven-battling axe. Yu Tianhao's eyes were like dark stars as he waved his hand, and a cracking sound came from the air. One could faintly see an orange axe that slashed apart the magnificent power of an emperor and landed on Zhao Feng's body. Facing this slash, Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. Under the pressure of an opponent like him, Yu Tianhao's battle intent was ignited. Break! Zhao Feng slowly thrust out his fist, and an ancient city of illusions appeared in the air. It was full of mysteries. Even with Yu Tianhao's battle intent, his mind shook. Boom! The two prodigies clashed for the first time in 7 years. Sand filled the sky and formed a sandstorm that swept everything within 100 miles. Within the sandstorm, a black-haired male groaned and took a few steps back. Yu Tianhao's face was slightly pale, and there were burn marks on his body. Zhao Feng's attacks were extremely terrifying, and he had merged the illusion maze domain into them. The illusion maze domain could create illusions in its attacks. Just the first exchange had injured Yu Tianhao's body and mind. Your cultivation has been suppressed to the half-step king level? Yu Tianhao's eyes twinkled. He had noticed something in the exchange just then. If Zhao Feng's true yuan was at the king level, he could definitely injure or even kill him instantly. Suppressed? A bitter smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. His Zhen Yuan cultivation had fallen to half-step king warrior level. In reality, when he faced the 3 kings, Zhao Feng's cultivation was at the boundary between the origin core realm and the void god realm. Of course, Zhao Feng's intent was still at the emperor level, and his soul was similar to normal emperors after being refined by the god tribulation lightning. However, it was still weakened by 30 to 40% when fighting the Emperor of Death. Cultivation and lifespan were the fastest to decline. Zhao Feng estimated that his lifespan had decreased by 50 years, which was more than half of a normal person's lifespan. It was very difficult for his power to affect the cursed words of death. This was a power that surpassed normal systems. Yu Tianhao, even if you're at the half-step king level, you won't be able to last 3 moves against me. Zhao Feng soon calmed down. As long as his intent and God's spiritual eye were still there, his strength could recover quickly like the child demigod. He could even recultivate the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body and the 5 elemental wind lightning technique. However, the prerequisite was that he could dissolve the cursed words of death. 3 moves? Then let's settle this in 3 moves. Yu Tianhao's battle intent rose. Even though he was injured, his battle power didn't decrease. The bloodline in his body boiled, and the icy shadow behind him grew in size. The will and battle prowess it gave off grew stronger and stronger. Unparalleled under the heavens. Yu Tianhao thrust out his palm, and an orange light shot out like the sun. The power contained within the palm was comparable to domain-level kings. The terrifying battle intent within the attack seemed to materialize, and it charged at Zhao Feng's soul and mental strength. My battle power has increased yet again. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. However, he was not afraid at all. Once again, he threw out an ordinary punch. This time, Zhao Feng merged the illusion maze domain and the mystic ice domain at the same time. Boom! The instant the two clashed, the power of ice froze everything within several hundred miles. Bam! Yu Tianhao flew back, and a layer of frost appeared on his body. His body stiffened, and the blood leaking out of his mouth froze. Third move. Yu Tianhao gritted his teeth, and his entire body and the cold figure behind him released a brilliant light that seemed to be able to devour heaven and earth. His battle intent could even become a peak-tier king. In that instant, Yu Tianhao's battle power was comparable to a peak-tier king's. It's over. Zhao Feng took a deep breath and punched out, and the three spatial domains stacked on top of each other. Boom! An earthquake seemed to happen in the desert where the two were standing, and a 100-mile crack appeared. What? The cold figure behind Yu Tianhao's back instantly shattered, and his face went pale. Plop! His body fell to the ground and he instantly fainted. Yu Tianhao, I didn't expect you to form king intent in the last 3 moves. Zhao Feng murmured. He scanned Yu Tianhao with his divine sense and found that his state was similar to last time. The unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline would continuously increase his battle power during battle, but he would have to pay a similar price afterwards. Simply put, it was overdraft. Shua. With a thought from Zhao Feng, magnificent power sent the unconscious Yu Tianhao several hundred miles away. Sovereign Yu Xingshan tore through the air and caught Yu Tianhao in his arms. Zhao Feng, I'll remember your kindness today. Yu Xingshan bowed deeply in Zhao Feng's direction. Zhao Feng smiled and nodded his head before leaving the desert and heading toward the main headquarters of the Iron Blood religion. So, before the battle, Yu Xingshan had gone to find Zhao Feng. There wasn't any suspense in the outcome of this battle. Zhao Feng promised Yu Xingshan that he wouldn't injure Yu Tianhao too badly, and he would use his unparalleled heaven-battling bloodline as much as possible. Reality proved that even though Zhao Feng's cultivation had dropped to the half-step king level, he could easily deal with the king. A while later, Zhao Feng returned to the Iron Blood religion. Meow meow. The little thieving cat popped its head out and curiously inspected the crowd. Patriarch Hong, Tianma, the skeletal division leader, and company were all present. Master, the Scarlet Moon Palace that I've created has become the #1 force in the Azure Flower Continent. It will be able to protect the balance and order of the Azure Flower Continent. The skeletal division leader reported. Half of the forces of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion had been absorbed by the Scarlet Moon Palace. However, even then, the Scarlet Moon Palace's strength surpassed the Scarlet Moon demonic religion at its peak. Just the 100-corpse cursed array controlled by the skeletal division leader could kill normal kings. Skeletal division leader. Zhao Feng ordered, from today onwards, you will guard the Azure Flower Continent. Once the Scarlet Moon Palace stabilizes, you will regain your freedom. Master. Hearing that, the skeletal division leader was filled with excitement and disbelief. After following Zhao Feng for so many years, it had improved a lot. It didn't think that it would regain its freedom one day. Zhao Feng had his own reasons for doing this. The skeletal division leader and the 100-corpse cursed array had reached their peak. The former could at most become a king. No matter how strong the 100-corpse cursed array was, it wouldn't pose much of a threat to emperors. Zhao Feng's target was the continent zone and emperors. Instead of that, it was better to leave the skeletal division leader in the Azure Flower Continent. It would be better for it to cultivate on its own. After saying all this, Zhao Feng got up and prepared to leave the Azure Flower Continent. Before leaving, Zhao Feng gave the skeletal division leader a mission. The child demigod has left my control. He's definitely hiding in a corner and cultivating. After I leave, you need to pay attention to his movements, Zhao Feng said in a solemn tone. The child demigod was definitely afraid of Zhao Feng right now and didn't dare to show himself. Zhao Feng didn't have the energy to chase after the child demigod. The two weren't in a life and death situation. Chapter 763. On this day, a ray of lightning broke through the limits of the domain and entered the limitless ocean. Shua. A purple-haired youth floated in the limitless ocean with a silver-gray cat on his shoulder. He gave a deep look at the azure flower continent before a pair of scarlet wings extended from his back, and he flew toward the depths of the limitless ocean. The human and cat were obviously Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat. When his cultivation dropped to the half-step king level, Zhao Feng found that the rate of his weakening increased. The main reason was that kings had a stronger foundation and were more resistant to the cursed words of death. In other words, if a disciple at the ascended realm was hit by the cursed words of death, their life force and cultivation would instantly wither and they would turn into a pile of white bones. This increased the urgency in Zhao Feng's heart. I need to go to the continent zone while I still have some strength, Zhao Feng murmured. The sage had given him 3 ways to resolve the cursed words of death. The third one required him to sacrifice a lot. The first 2 could only be done in the continent zone far away. Apart from that, Zhao Feng also wanted to go to the continent zone to find his master, Duan Muqing, and Zhao Yufei. Due to various reasons, Zhao Feng had to go to the continent zone. After flying for several days, Zhao Feng arrived at the Void Ocean Spiritual Palace in the ancient Azure Island Zone. The ancient Azure Island Zone was the island zone where the Azure Flower Continent was, and next to it was the Tianlu Island Zone. If it was a normal person, they obviously wouldn't have the right to use the teleportation array. However, Zhao Feng was a disciple of the mystic True Sacred Clan, a 3-star sect in the True Martial Sacred Land. Furthermore, he only needed to release Emperor Intent or King Intent to enjoy the special benefits. In this world, the strong were respected. Of course, every time Zhao Feng used the teleportation array, he would need to spend a large amount of precious primal crystal stones. The teleportation array in the Void Ocean Spiritual Palace was limited and could only be used to teleport to nearby Void Ocean Spiritual Palaces. After using it several times, Zhao Feng finally arrived at the True Martial Sacred Land. After arriving at the True Martial Sacred Land, Zhao Feng could not help but look at the ancient sacred peak at the center. The spiritual zone teleportation formation was on the myriad ancient Saint Peak. Other than that, the entrances and connections of the legacies and secret realms of various sizes were also located on the 10,000 ancient sacred peak. Zhao Feng was suspicious that the child demigod had a way to enter the demigod Forgotten Garden. After all, the child demigod had a portion of demigod intent. Of course, even if Zhao Feng confirmed that the child demigod was in the demigod Forgotten Garden, he wouldn't be able to enter. Zhao Feng didn't stay for long in the True Martial Sacred Land. He used the spiritual zone teleportation formation and directly arrived at the Floating Dreams Sacred Land. The Tsang Sea has 3 spirit realms. The border of the Floating Dreams Sacred Land is close to the Nanlin Sea. A map appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. The Nanlin Sea was close to the southern side of the continent zone, while the Ash-Gray Sea was further away. The continent dynasty could not reach it. That was to say, as long as Zhao Feng entered the Nanlin Sea, he would be at the edge of the continent zone. In that area, the dynasty's influence was slightly stronger. Immediately, Zhao Feng used the spiritual zone teleportation formation and teleported to the border of the Floating Dream Spiritual Zone. During this period of time, Zhao Feng didn't have enough peak-grade primal crystal stones, so he contacted Emperor Zimu and asked for some primal crystal stones. When facing Emperor Zimu, Zhao Feng's aura was very faint, but he didn't hide his emperor intent. Emperor Zimu didn't think too much about it. He just wanted to get on good terms with Zhao Feng, so he obviously gave him a large amount of primal crystal stones. Emperor Zhao, your name as the left-eyed heavenly emperor is extremely famous in the Tsang Sea. Even mystic light realm's sacred lords are wary of you. Emperor Zimu's tone was filled with respect. However, he didn't know that Zhao Feng's true cultivation had already fallen to the Great Origin Core realm. Zhao Feng didn't stay for long at Emperor Zimu's place. After scamming some primal crystal stones, he said that he had urgent matters to attend to and left. On a certain day, Zhao Feng appeared in a void ocean spiritual palace at the very edge of the floating dream spiritual zone. After that, he teleported from the void ocean spiritual palace to the void ocean spiritual palace where Nanlin Hai was. The void ocean spiritual palaces were common in the limitless ocean. Apparently, they were created by the Lord Dynasty after they conquered the continent and the 10,000 oceans. But now, the Lord Dynasty had lost control over the Tsang Sea, but they still had some influence over the Nanlin Sea. The Nanlin Sea was rich in resources, far more than the Tsang Sea. There were even 4 spirit realm sacred lands in this great sea region. The journey from the Nanlin Sea to the continent zone is very long. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. His soul power had also started to weaken after his cultivation dropped to the origin core realm. Right now, his soul was still at the early stage or middle stage void god realm. It was much weaker than a peak emperor's soul at its peak. If my soul falls back to the origin core realm, most of my emperor intent will go into hibernation. Zhao Feng felt more and more pressured. Emperor intent was built on the soul. If one's soul power wasn't enough, the emperor intent would fall into a temporary slumber. If one's soul became stronger in the future, the emperor intent would slowly awaken. After all, intent focused on comprehension and intent. The cursed words of death couldn't affect one's thoughts and comprehension. After entering the Nanlin Sea, Zhao Feng started to use the Void Ocean Spiritual Palace. As long as his emperor intent still existed, the Void Ocean Spiritual Palace's palace masters would give him face. Over at the Nanlin Sea, many of the palace lords of the Void Ocean Spiritual Palace were kings, and the cultivation culture here was slightly better than the Tsang Ocean. Half a month later, Zhao Feng passed through a spiritual sacred land in the Nanlin Sea. At this moment, due to the weakening of his soul, a portion of Zhao Feng's intent had fallen to the level of a king. However, even a king was high up in the Nanlin Sea. The palace lords of the Void Ocean spiritual palaces would give him face when they saw such a young king. My cultivation and soul are dropping faster and faster. Zhao Feng's heart became solemn. He estimated that his cultivation would drop back to the true spirit realm before he even reached the continent zone. Once it dropped back to the true spirit realm, the rate of decline would be several times faster. In this situation, Zhao Feng had no choice but to prepare himself. Purple Soul Sea. Zhao Feng's soul eye bloodline power had dropped dramatically, and his soul sea was only 200 to 300 yards wide. However, the center of his soul sea and the eye bloodline lake that connected to the ancient dream realm weren't affected by the cursed words of death. Furthermore, the 700 to 800 mysterious symbols of lightning in his soul sea still gave off an immortal and undying god tribulation aura. The source of the god's spiritual eye and the power of the god tribulation lightning are forbidden areas in my body. Zhao Feng let out a sigh of relief. In other areas, Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye could see wisps of black and blood-colored light entering every cell in his body. This dark power could pass through both the physical and the soul. Soul attacks were useless against it. While his intent was still at the void god's level, Zhao Feng continued to travel. 2 months later, a streak of dim lightning entered a vast, ancient land. When it entered the force field, some of the nearby sovereigns exclaimed lightly, "A measly true spirit realm can pass through the outside world?" A small origin core realm elder revealed a weird expression. This vast land wasn't a continent zone, but an extremely large Great Island Zone, called the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. Nearby were a dozen or so small island zones similar to the Azure Flower Continent. The Tianfeng Great Island Zone was located in a great location. It was close to the continent and connected to the ocean, and it was ruled by the Lord Dynasty. Apparently, this large island zone was ruled by a marquis from the Great Gone Lord Dynasty. An old man who was as skinny as a twig entered the Nanlin Sea, a large island region adjacent to the continent, surrounded by streams of lightning and lightning. This elder's face was somewhat similar to Zhao Feng's when he was young. Meow meow. A silver-gray thieving cat stood on the elder's shoulder and waved its paws in excitement. "Little thieving cat, I'm already in this state. What are you still excited about?" Zhao Feng said with a depressed expression. His lifespan and state of existence had decreased by more than 95%. His cultivation had dropped to the true spirit realm, and over 90% of his emperor intent had fallen asleep. "It's too late to enter the continent zone. Looks like I can only give it my all." Zhao Feng sighed. Luckily, he had already put the ancient metal ring and some other treasures into the dimension of his left eye. "Go!" Zhao Feng's body and soul burned in the wind and lightning and turned into a pile of ash. His state of existence, true yuan, and soul all burned and created a strong surge of power. God's eye leaves the body. A transparent purple eye that seemed to exist between the physical and the illusory world entered the dimension with a speed that surpassed emperors. Boom! Zhao Feng's state of existence, true yuan, and soul power were all destroyed. The power of the cursed words of death was also destroyed. Shu, a black and blood-colored light, turned into nothingness and disappeared into samsara dimension. Zhao Feng's God spiritual eye and the forbidden zone of the God tribulation lightning was a place where the power of the cursed words of death couldn't corrode. Otherwise, even if Zhao Feng gave up his body, he wouldn't be able to escape from the cursed words of death. "I've finally escaped from the cursed words of death by following the third method." Zhao Feng let out a long breath. When the God's eye left the body, his senses were extremely strong, and he instantly scanned across a range of several dozen thousand miles. At the same time, in this ancient land, in a remote and deathly silent ancient forest. "You're from the Yin family." A pale-faced youth was holding a broken saber in his hand, barely supporting his body. Next to him was the corpse of a tiger-leopard beast. Its cultivation had reached the true spirit realm when it was alive. "Zhao Feng, you're a once-in-a-thousand-years genius of the Zhao family, and you've reached the true spirit realm at the age of 14 after joining the 10,000 sacred clan. You're a huge threat to the Yin family. If it wasn't for the fact that you risked entering the Wuyo forest, we wouldn't have this chance." A few masked figures said coldly and proudly. One of them had even reached the true lord rank. The youth called Zhao Feng screamed as he was sent flying by a masked male in black. "Sir, this brat's dead. Not good." There seems to be disciples of the 10,000 sacred clan approaching. The elder at the front immediately ordered to retreat. Right at this moment, a bolt of purple lightning flashed across the sky above the Wuyo forest. An inconceivable scene appeared before his eyes. The left eye of the youth called Zhao Feng, who was supposed to be dead, turned purple and released a surge of intent that quickly faded. Chapter 764. Northern part of the Tianfeng zone. Yunling Zhao clan. Zhao Feng? The memory of an unfamiliar youth appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. At this moment, the purple soul sea was absorbing the memories of a remnant soul. Coincidentally, this youth had the same surname as Zhao Feng. With Zhao Feng's God spiritual eye, he soon gained control of this body. Not good. His organs have been severely injured and he's lost too much blood. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. Although he had been reincarnated through possession, the youth's body was basically dead before he took over the body. This was good for him. Zhao Feng wouldn't feel too guilty. After all, if he hadn't come, this youth would have died already. Immediately, Zhao Feng circulated less than 1/10 of his intent to heal the wounds on his body and reactivate the life force in his body. Because this body was about to die, its life force hadn't been extinguished, so the entire process was quite smooth. This body was quite suitable. Zhao Feng didn't want to find another body. There was something very important that Zhao Feng wanted to confirm. Zhao Feng scanned his body and soul with his God spiritual eye. Luckily, the cursed words of death have been completely destroyed. Zhao Feng let out a long breath. The golden cicada shedding technique he had used could only keep the God's spiritual eye's forbidden area. Most of his soul power and body had been eroded by the cursed words of death. Usually, there were 3 ways to be reborn. The first was to steal someone's body and revive. This method was relatively simple, but it had a lot of risk. The second was to revive from a drop of blood. The child demigod's method was quite high-end and was built on the foundation of a strong body and intent. The third was to revive through reincarnation. If one was lucky, they would revive into a disciple of a 10,000 ancient race bloodline or a superfamily. If they were unlucky, they would revive into a pig or dog. However, if one could control the third method, it would be perfect. Relatively speaking, Zhao Feng's method was the most low-end, but it was also the only method he could use. Zhao Feng didn't know how to use blood rebirth. Even the Emperor of Death might not be able to use it. Even someone as strong as the child demigod could only cultivate the Golden Kun's sacred body to a very high level when he was at the peak of the demigod realm. Moreover, blood rebirth didn't suit Zhao Feng. This was because his flesh and blood couldn't stop the power of the cursed words of death. Once he was reborn, the power of the cursed words of death would continue. On the other hand, the lowest level of possession and rebirth, or in other words, reincarnation, was more suitable for Zhao Feng. This body is still young and has just reached the true spirit realm. It's very suitable. Zhao Feng inspected it and was very satisfied. If the target was strong, it wouldn't be suitable for Zhao Feng either. It wasn't that Zhao Feng didn't want to possess a stronger target. It was that in order to stop the cursed words of death, Zhao Feng would have to give up 90% of his soul power and even his physical body. With just 10% of his soul power, he wouldn't be able to take over a target at the Void God realm or higher. Even if the target was at the Origin Core realm or higher, it would still struggle. If it was at the True Spirit realm, it would be much easier. The previous owner of this body had just died, which saved Zhao Feng the trouble of finding him. At this moment in time, Zhao Feng let out a breath in his heart. Firstly, the cursed words of death had been dissolved. Secondly, the talent of this body was much stronger than in his previous life, and it was more suitable for cultivating the Golden Kun's sacred lightning body and the 5 elemental wind lightning technique. The only unfortunate thing was that the bloodline of the mystic ice-scaled race wouldn't be able to continue. However, there were gains and losses in this world, and nothing was perfect. Soon after, Zhao Feng started to digest the memories of this body. The previous owner of this body, Zhao Feng, came from a mid-tier family in the Great Island Zone called the Yunling Zhao family. The Zhao clan and the Yin family were both from the Yunling mountain range, and they had a lot of enmity between them. Zhao Feng was a peerless genius of the Zhao family, and he had successfully entered the 10,000 Sacred Clan half a year ago. The 10,000 Sacred Clan was a 3-star force of the Lord dynasty. Even though the 10,000 Sacred Clan had fallen to a 2-star power, it had a strong foundation and a long history. It surpassed some of the 2-star sects from the true martial sacred land. This undoubtedly made the Yin family wary and uneasy. Coincidentally, this time, Zhao Feng was carrying out a mission with a disciple of the clan. Because he was a loner and didn't have a good relationship with his peers, the Yin family was able to find a chance. Interesting. This body has the talent of a high-tier earth spiritual body, and it also has a bloodline inheritance. However, his parents died and he was an orphan. He only had a grandfather. Zhao Feng found out a lot of interesting information. This included the fact that this body also had a fiancée who was engaged to a family, and the fiancée was from a rather powerful family. It could be said that this body carried the greatest hope of the Yunling Zhao clan. Since I've inherited this body, I'll help you complete your wish from before you died. Of course, apart from the fiancé. A faint smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. The youth in this body was extremely handsome, and he surpassed the Zhao Feng from his previous life. The only flaw was that he was too loner. So. With his analysis, it wasn't hard for him to see that senior martial brother Guang had something to do with him being ambushed by the Yin family. During the mission, senior martial brother Guang and the original Zhao Feng had an argument, and the lonely Zhao Feng had acted alone in anger. However, according to what Zhao Feng knew, senior martial brother Guang was very popular and had many friends. However, this time, senior martial brother Guang and the lonely Zhao Feng had an argument. Coincidentally, Zhao Feng had been ambushed by the Yin family. If it wasn't for the fact that senior martial sister One didn't want him to be alone, she probably wouldn't have found his corpse. Senior Marshal Sister Wan, I owe you one. Zhao Feng didn't bother with Senior Marshal Brother Guang and faintly nodded his head towards Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong. You don't know what's good for you? Senior Marshal Brother Guang waved his sleeves in anger. Meow meow. Right at this moment, a silver-gray cat jumped out from a corner of the forest. What a cute cat. Love appeared in Senior Marshal Sister Wan's eyes. The cat had an arrogant expression, and its black eyes seemed to be able to see through one's soul. Meow meow. The little thieving cat landed on Zhao Feng's shoulder and rubbed its head against Zhao Feng. Little thieving cat? Zhao Feng reached out and gently stroked its fur with a joyful expression. Life changes, things remain the same, but people change. However, a person's soul intent was the true core. The physical body was just a bag of skin. For people like Zhao Feng and the Emperor of Death, soul intent was the true source of immortality. Even though Zhao Feng had reincarnated, he was still Zhao Feng. The little thieving cat was still with him. This cat. Senior Marshal Brother Guang, Wan Rong, and company were all stunned. At this moment, Zhao Feng was calm and had an indescribable aura around him. I forgot to tell you. This is a cat that I just tamed in the Wuyo forest. Zhao Feng added. Senior Marshal Brother Guang and company didn't ask any further. This cat was so small and didn't seem to have any battle power. Only an eccentric person like Zhao Feng, or some women, would choose a cat that was cute but weak in combat. After saying this, the human and cat walked into the depths of the Wuyo forest. Zhao Feng, what are you doing? Senior Marshal Brother Guang roared. I'm going alone, Zhao Feng said without even turning his head around. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao. There are traces of sovereigns in the depths of the Wuyo forest. It's dangerous for you to go alone. Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong couldn't help but say. Senior Marshal Brother Guang and company had disdainful expressions, as if they were looking at an idiot. This guy almost died when he went alone, but he still hasn't changed. A disciple in blue snickered coldly. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao, don't blame me, the leader, for being so stubborn. If you can't complete the mission and die in the Wuyo forest, it has nothing to do with me. Senior Marshal Brother Guang snickered coldly. Even if Zhao Feng could survive, he wouldn't be able to complete the clan's mission alone and would most likely be punished when he returned to the clan. However, the human and cat walked into the depths of the Wuyo forest as if they didn't hear anything. The gentle senior apprentice Sister Wan looked at the departing figure. She actually felt a mysterious, legendary charm from the back of that figure. Chapter 765. One human and one cat walked towards the depths of the Wuyo forest. Zhao Feng had his own plans. If he moved alone, it wouldn't be easy for him to expose himself, which suited the original owner's personality. This was the first reason. The second reason was that Zhao Feng wanted to see how much battle power he had left after taking over this body. Zhao Feng didn't bother attacking normal beasts under the true spirit realm. However, a small number of beasts still attacked Zhao Feng. Crack, boom. A few trees nearby were directly broken by some kind of huge force. A Yao cow with a flaming tail charged at Zhao Feng. A beast that has just entered the true spirit realm? Zhao Feng didn't even look at it. He waved his hand and a faint red true yuan shot out, turning into a sharp blade of fire that was 2 yards long. Shwa, plop. The demonic ox's huge body was directly cut in half at the waist. Even its heart was cut into pieces. It breathed its last. After dealing with the bull, Zhao Feng walked towards the depths of the Wuyo forest. Apparently, there were even some intelligent beasts at the origin core realm in the depths of the Wuyo forest. Not long after Zhao Feng's figure left, a few masked figures quickly approached. The flaming barbarian bull was killed in one blow. The eyes of the leading elder twinkled. That brat just stabilized his injuries. How could he do this? Without the battle power of a true lord rank, it'd be hard to do this. The few masked men discussed in low voices. They were bewildered. They could originally exclude Zhao Feng, but the flaming barbarian bull's injuries were of the fire element. It should be someone else, and they're at least at the true lord rank. The old man in the lead had a confident look on his face. The other masked men also showed questioning looks. Firstly, the person who attacked didn't even bother to harvest the flaming barbarian bull's body. Think about it, the parts of the flaming barbarian bull's body, especially the blood and heart, would be extremely beneficial to his cultivation of fire. The elder smiled and said. As soon as he said this, the others all agreed. Indeed, if it were Zhao Feng, there was no way he would ignore the blazing barbaric bull's corpse. The masked men followed Zhao Feng's footprints and chased after him. After half a cup of tea's time, the figure of a man and a cat entered his field of vision. There's no one around. Go. A total of 4 or 5 masked men, led by the old man, flew towards Zhao Feng. As if sensing something, Zhao Feng turned around. Strangely, the young man looked at the masked men with a faint smile. That smile, the old man's heart skipped a beat, and he felt uneasy. Although the youth in front of him looked exactly the same as Zhao Feng, the feeling he gave off was that they were two completely different people. Junior, I didn't expect you to be able to escape death. Unfortunately, there will be no future good fortune. The masked men laughed sinisterly. Previously, this young man had been tortured to death by them, so he was full of confidence. You know I'm not dead? Zhao Feng had a strange look on his face. He smiled brightly and slowly waved his hand. Shua! A few flame blades that were as sharp as blades cut through the air, accompanied by the strange sound of thunder. Watch out! The expression of the leading elder changed dramatically. However, Zhao Feng's attack was too fast, and their strength was still at the youth who had been tortured to death. Several screams sounded as the 4 true human rank or true mystic rank masked men were all cut in half and their bodies were burnt. You're not Zhao Feng, the leading elder exclaimed. This strength had already reached the true lord rank. Zhao Feng definitely didn't have such an intent. Tell me, how do you know I'm not dead? Zhao Feng walked towards the elder as if he was taking a stroll. The elder paused and became enraged. Junior, even if your strength has reached the true lord rank, you're only on par with me. After saying this, a simple broken saber appeared in the old man's hand, and he slashed out with lightning speed, creating a powerful state of might. One could only see a golden scale-like saber wave. Boom, boom. Several nearby trees were instantly chopped into ashes. It's a fragment of an Earth-grade weapon used by a sovereign. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. It was obvious that this fragment of an Earth-grade weapon was the elder's biggest trump card. The old man had a feeling that the Zhao Feng before him was not as simple as he seemed. He could not get rid of the unease he felt. Zhao Feng snickered coldly and took a step forward. In an instant, an unparalleled intent shot through the sky. The broken blade in the elder's hand fell to the ground and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was deathly pale, and his mind was heavily injured. He was suppressed by an invisible force of will. Even if Zhao Feng only had 1/10 of his soul power and intent, it wasn't something a measly true lord rank could fight against. Intent? The elder couldn't believe it. The opponent's intent had reached a level that he couldn't see through. Shua! A hand heavily struck the elder's head. Soul-searching technique. A misty purple light appeared in Zhao Feng's left eye. The elder's heart shook. In front of the opponent's powerful intent and soul power, he couldn't fight back at all. As I thought. Zhao Feng took back his hand and got his answer. It was just as he had guessed. There was a problem with Senior Marshal Brother Guang. Zhao Feng's death was because Senior Marshal Brother Guang purposely fought with him and left him alone. The second time. This was the connection between Senior Marshal Brother Guang and the elder from the Yin family. This elder was a guest advisor of the Yin family. Guang Tian. Zhao Feng murmured Senior Marshal Brother Guang's name as a sharp light flashed through his eyes. Since he had used Zhao Feng's body to revive, then he would do his best to fulfill Zhao Feng's wish. However, Senior Marshal Brother Guang was a core disciple, and his master was a Void God Realm King. According to what Zhao Feng knew, the 10,000 Sacred Clan was once a 3-star power at its peak. Even though it had fallen, it still had more than a dozen kings and several emperors. Even if the 3 2-star sects of the Tianlu Island zone teamed up, they wouldn't be on the same level as the 10,000 Sacred Clan. The 10,000 Sacred Clan was definitely one of the top peak 2-star sections. That's good too. I can obtain more resources and a better environment to recultivate in. Zhao Feng nodded his head. Shua. With a thought, an ancient metal ring appeared on Zhao Feng's finger. These resources are enough for me to recultivate to the half-step king level. However, it won't be enough for me to reach the Void God realm. Furthermore, the Golden Kuan's Sacred Lightning Body is a body-strengthening technique, and it uses up a lot of resources. The 5-elemental 10,000 lightning technique also needs resources of various elements. Zhao Feng started to think about his plan. Overall, his identity and environment were very suitable for him to recultivate. Gradually, Zhao Feng walked into the depths of the Wuyo forest. After that, the beasts he met became stronger and stronger. Beasts at the 3 heavens of the true spirit realm were very common here, and there were even true lord ranks. However, these beasts were easily taken care of by Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat before they could even get close. I still have the little thieving cat by my side. Even kings can protect themselves. But my goal is a higher level. Zhao Feng's heart calmed down. At this moment, he had a preliminary understanding of his battle prowess after his reincarnation. Firstly, although his soul intent wasn't even 1/10 of his peak, it was stronger than normal half-step kings. Secondly, the power of his god's spiritual ice still existed. The 700 to 800 wisps of God Tribulation lightning in his purple soul sea were still Zhao Feng's killing moves. Protect the princess. How unlucky. I actually met the most mysterious Yinming bird in the Wuyo forest. The sound of flying came from ahead. Zhao Feng's footsteps stopped as he felt a weird aura. An enormous shadowy bird with translucent wings that were suffused with a layer of dark flames was chasing after 3 men and a woman. Whoosh, the giant shadow bird's body seemed to be illusory as it passed through some branches and leaves, its speed as fast as lightning. There were 3 men and 1 woman being chased. The 3 men were all at the primal core realm, and one of them was even a supremacy. The other young girl wore a luxurious and exquisite purple dress. She was around 14 or 15 years old, but her appearance was dignified and beautiful. Her beautiful face was like snow porcelain, and she faintly emitted a noble aura. What surprised Zhao Feng was that this girl had reached the peak true mystic rank and was only half a step away from the true lord rank. It could be predicted that not only was this young lady extremely talented, but she was also of noble birth. What surprised Zhao Feng the most was, the Yinming bird chasing them was only at the peak small origin core realm, but it was able to push back the group of 1 sovereign lord and 2 sovereigns. Puff, the Yinming bird's translucent, shadowy wings flapped rapidly, sending gusts of gloomy wind towards the 3 of them. A soul attack and a death attribute 1 at that. Zhao Feng saw the clues at first glance. In other words, the Yinming bird and the Death Emperor belonged to the same system. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paws as it stared at the Yinming bird. Zhao Feng felt that the Yinming bird's bloodline wasn't normal. Hoopa! The Yinming bird suddenly became enraged and charged toward Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat. Thieving cat, what did you say to this bird? Zhao Feng's expression changed. The Yinming bird had the battle power of a sovereign lord, and it had a unique law of death. Although that was the case, Zhao Feng didn't hesitate, and his black hair suddenly turned faint purple. Immediately after, with his back facing the 3 escaping males and 1 female, he raised his hand and locked onto the Yinming bird with his purple left eye. A weird scene appeared. The Yinming bird suddenly froze when it got close to Zhao Feng and started to struggle. The 3 escaping males and 1 female realized that the Yinming bird had suddenly left them behind and flew toward a youth. The youth's back was facing them, and he had a head of dreamy purple hair. One could faintly see the side of his handsome face. How is this possible? The leader of the sovereign lords revealed a look of surprise. Then when the giant Yinming bird got close to Zhao Feng, its wings quickly shrank and turned into a palm-sized Yinming bird. The little Yinming bird and the little thieving cat stood on either side of Zhao Feng's shoulders and got along well with each other. The Yinming bird, which had been ferocious just a moment ago, was now obediently rubbing against Zhao Feng's neck. The Tianfeng Great Island Zone has such a powerful beast tamer. The Yinming bird is a rare species that belongs to the soul type of death. It's almost impossible to tame. The young woman in a violet dress with a dignified appearance had a face filled with surprise. What was even more unbelievable was that the beast tamer was so young. She wanted to see the side of the purple-haired youth's face, but she didn't succeed. The others were just about to go up and talk. Hoopa! The Yinming bird suddenly grew to a size of 200 feet. It flapped its wings and took Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat through the forest and into the clouds. Chapter 766. The 3 males and 1 female watched as Zhao Feng flew away on the Yinming bird, surprise still lingering on their faces. The Yinming bird's speed was something that the 3 of them couldn't catch up to. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet such a brilliant and young beast tamer. The beautiful girl watched the Yinming bird leave with a trace of regret on her face. There weren't many people in the Tianfeng Great Island Zone who could tame the Yinming bird so easily. Furthermore, the beast tamer was such a handsome youth. Princess, don't worry. The leading Great Origin Core Realm Sovereign Lord smiled faintly. With that youth's talent, we'll have a chance to meet him in the future as long as he's still in the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. Hearing that, everyone nodded their heads in agreement. Gold would shine sooner or later. That youth's talent would definitely spread across the Great Island Zone. At the same time, there was a mysterious guard hidden within a few dozen miles of the 3 males and 1 female. The auras of the 2 guards had reached the half-step void god realm. That youth's only at the true spirit realm, but he radiates a profound soul undulation and easily tamed the Yinming bird. One of the guards clicked his tongue in wonder. Our mission is to protect the princess in secret. That youth's weird isn't something we need to worry about. The other guard said expressionlessly. In the clouds, Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat sat on the Yinming bird and flew several thousand miles in the air above the Huio forest. This Yinming bird's speed isn't bad. If it weren't for the fact that I have the power of God Tribulation lightning in my soul, I wouldn't have been able to tame it so easily. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh. One had to know that the wind lightning inheritance that he cultivated in his previous life had the title of being the fastest emperor. One could see how fast the Yinming bird was if Zhao Feng said it was not bad. Of course. Although the bird was fast, it had a weakness, and that was that it had to bear gravity. This was because only a part of the Yinming bird's body was materialized. The other part was a soul flame, so it was extremely light. It was because of this that the Yinming bird could shrink, enlarge, and even hide. For the current Zhao Feng, this bird was a good mount and also a fighter. The Yinming bird was a rare necromancy and soul-type beast. Adding on its extraordinary speed, it was no wonder Zhao Feng had risked his life to subdue it. When he'd subdued the Yinether bird, Zhao Feng had sensed the presence of 2 half-step kings in the vicinity. Therefore, he tried to restrain his aura as much as possible when he attacked. Before returning to the 10,000 Sacred Clan, I'll first complete the clan mission. Zhao Feng thought of something. This time, Zhao Feng and the other core disciples formed a team to complete a mission outside. In the mission, he needed to obtain the materials and parts of several kinds of demonic beasts within a specified time. However, these Yao beasts were all strong and 1 or 2 normal true human ranks would find it hard to complete the mission. Half a day later, Zhao Feng easily completed the task and returned to the sect on the Yinming bird. In his field of vision, a group of lofty mountains surrounded by clouds and mist was surrounded by a layer of faint golden light, which reflected the blazing sun of the golden crow. In the sky above the clouds, there would be streaks of light tearing through the air. All sorts of spiritual pets and mounts were a common sight. In some areas, peak sovereign origin core realms would occasionally appear in the air above the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Zhao Feng's Yinming bird attracted the attention of some experts from the clan. The Yinming bird was a rare bird that was hard to come by even for great origin core realm sovereign lords and half-step kings. Furthermore, the Yinming bird's growth was much harder than normal beasts. Some origin core realm experts in the air looked at Zhao Feng's Yinming bird with fiery gazes. However, Zhao Feng didn't move. He didn't believe that anyone would dare to steal his mount. Zhao Feng didn't plan on keeping a low profile since he was recultivating with a new identity. If one was more high profile, they would be able to enjoy more resources and privileges in the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Within a tall hall in the 10,000 Sacred Clan, some disciples were lining up to complete their missions. Junior Martial Brother Zhao? Several surprised voices sounded from the side of the hall. The source of the voices came from Senior Martial Brother Guang, Senior Martial Sister Wan, and company. Hearing that, Zhao Feng slowly walked over. After all, this sect mission was accepted by the team together, so everyone had a share. Surprise flashed through Senior Martial Brother Guang's eyes when he saw Zhao Feng return safely. Junior Martial Brother Zhao. Senior Martial Brother Guang quickly hid his emotions and said, "Because you left the group, you didn't get a share." Under normal circumstances, as long as Zhao Feng followed the group and completed the mission, he would get a share. However, under normal circumstances, as long as Zhao Feng followed the group and completed the mission, he would get a share. However, since he left the group, the leader had the right to exclude his share. In reality, he didn't contribute much during the mission, so it wasn't unfair. "I will report this to Deacon." Senior Martial Brother Guang smiled faintly. At this moment, it was time for Senior Martial Brother Guang's group to hand in their mission, and Zhao Feng followed them in. Within a halt, Senior Martial Brother Guang's group started to hand in their mission. The person in charge of checking the mission was an elder at the late-stage Small Origin Core realm. "Deacon Fan, these are the materials of our group, but one of our members left the group." Senior Martial Brother Guang said seriously. "I've seen too many self-centered disciples without any sense of teamwork. This situation needs to be dealt with severely." Deacon Fan had a strict expression. Senior Martial Brother Guang came from the lineage of a king, so Deacon Fan would obviously give him face. "You're Zhao Feng? What's your share for this mission?" Deacon Fan's gaze landed on Zhao Feng. Deacon Fan had an impression of Zhao Feng. He had performed quite well in the clan exam. However, just the talent of an Earth spiritual body wasn't shocking in the Lord dynasty. After all, a person's success depended on their comprehension, determination, and hard work apart from their talent. Unless their talent was like Nan Gongxing's heaven spiritual body. All in all, if Zhao Feng performed well in the next 2 years, he had a chance of becoming a king. Zhao Feng expressionlessly waved his hand, and a pile of beast parts appeared on the ground in front of him. "What?" The gazes of everyone present froze as they stared at the materials on the ground. These beast parts were all materials needed for the mission. "You've completed the mission by double the quota. You did all of this by yourself?" Deacon Fan was slightly dazed. In other words, Zhao Feng had completed double the quota by himself. On top of that, the materials that Zhao Feng had obtained were extremely complete and of high quality, far exceeding the requirements of the mission. Deacon Fan checked the materials and found that they were perfect. How is it possible for him to do it by himself? Senior Martial Brother Guang and company were filled with shock and doubt. The eyes of the gentle Senior Martial Sister Wan spun as she found it hard to hide her surprise. Before leaving, the mysterious aura from Zhao Feng's back appeared in her mind. "Deacon Fan, did I complete my quota?" Zhao Feng said with a smile that didn't look like a smile. "You completed double the quota by yourself and completed it with high quality, so of course you've met the requirements." Deacon Fan calmed down. The clan didn't have strict requirements on the method of completion. Even if you spent primal crystal stones to buy the materials needed for the mission, it was still possible. This Zhao Feng must have spent money to hire people to get the materials. After all, he has a powerful family behind him. Senior Martial Brother Guang and the others exchanged glances. After completing the mission, everyone received their rewards. The rewards were mainly clan contribution points, which could be used to buy some cultivation techniques or enjoy some privileges. The essence of the clan's missions was that the upper echelons of the clan would let the disciples do the errands. For example, a certain upper echelon of the clan needed some low-grade materials for alchemy, but he didn't have any free time, so he gave out a mission for the disciples to complete. Or maybe, if there were any unstable factors in the clan's territory, the disciples would also be given a mission to solve them. In the world of the clan, most of the disciples at the bottom were just running errands. 2,000 points, 8,000 primal crystal stones. Zhao Feng checked his reward. His reward was more than Senior Marshal Brother Guang's and the others combined. After all, there was no limit to the number of materials needed for this mission. He walked out of the mission hall. Zhao Feng, this mission requires materials. You can buy them. Let's see how you're going to fake the next mission. Senior Marshal Brother Guang snickered in his heart. But on the surface, he and Zhao Feng still maintained a harmonious smile. Senior Marshal Brother Guang. How did you meet the people from the Yin family? Zhao Feng asked coldly. People from the Yin family? What do you mean? You're ridiculous. There was a hint of panic in Senior Marshal Brother Guang's eyes, but he forced himself to calm down. For some reason, he felt a little guilty under Zhao Feng's sharp gaze. Zhao Feng ignored him and waved his hand, and a huge illusory flame dark bird appeared in front of him. The Yinming bird carried Zhao Feng and flew into the sky, leaving behind a group of shocked disciples. Oh my God! It's an extremely precious Yinming bird. Isn't this bird supposed to be extremely hard to tame? An uproar broke out among the disciples. Senior Marshal Brother Guang and company had their mouths open. Could it be that the Zhao family is also helping him? Seeing the Yinming bird spread its wings and fly away with Zhao Feng, everyone was speechless for a long time. Zhao Feng soon arrived at his residence on the Yinming bird. Being a core disciple, he had his own courtyard, and it wasn't very eye-catching in the 10,000 sacred clan. Immediately, Zhao Feng opened the defensive array in his courtyard and put up a sign that he was in seclusion. The 3-star 10,000 sacred clan was indeed strong, and its basic facilities were extremely complete. Zhao Feng sat down in his room. The Golden Kuan Sacred Lightning Body and the 5 Elemental Wind Lightning Technique, 2 top-tier cultivation techniques in the universe, appeared in his mind. These 2 sets of cultivation techniques are a complete set of cultivation techniques. In order to cultivate the Sacred Lightning Body, I need to use the 5 Elemental 10,000 Lightning to refine my body. Zhao Feng's heart was as clear as a mirror. He needed to cultivate the 5 Elemental Wind Lightning Technique first. This technique was created by merging the Wind Lightning Inheritance and the 5 Elemental 10,000 Lightning Technique. The 5 Elemental Wind Lightning Technique is split into 12 levels, and it can be cultivated to the Heavenly Divine Realm. The first 3 levels are the foundation of Wind Lightning and form the skeleton of Wind Lightning. From the 4th level onwards, one can cultivate the 5 Elemental Wind Lightning of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The 10th level will allow the 5 Elemental Wind Lightning to grow endlessly. Zhao Feng's mind was immersed in it. Chapter 767. Zhao Feng glanced over and found that the first 3 levels weren't difficult for him. After all, he had cultivated the Wind Lightning Inheritance to the peak in his previous life. The 5 Elemental Wind Lightning Technique used the power of wind and lightning as the foundation. Therefore, the first 3 levels were extremely important. Spending 4 hours, Zhao Feng comprehended the first 3 levels of the 5 Elemental Wind Lightning Technique. He could see that the first 3 levels were the condensed version of the Purple Destruction Wind Lightning from his previous life. Not only was it condensed, but it was also strengthened and perfected. The improved 5 Elemental Wind Lightning Technique is indeed profound. It's also the foundation, but it's much better than the early stages of the Wind Lightning Inheritance. Zhao Feng couldn't help but sigh. Of course, the difference in power wasn't too big since it was the early stages. The main advantage of a high-level cultivation technique was that it had greater potential. It had other advantages such as using the same amount of power, using less energy, or having an advantage in recovery and yuan qi purity. However, for Zhao Feng, who had emperor intent, what moved him the most was the potential of the inheritance. I can cultivate the first 3 levels now. Zhao Feng thought for a moment, but he didn't immediately start cultivating. He still had a few things to do before cultivating. Firstly, he took out a mouthful of the Immortal Springs wine and drank it. The Immortal Springs wine could increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years and increase one's state of existence. Most importantly, The immortal spring's wine's effect was very gentle and merged with one's blood. Even if a mortal drank the immortal spring, they could slowly digest and absorb it over a long period of time. Zhao Feng obviously wouldn't let the immortal spring's wine digest it so slowly. He immediately circulated his intent and true force, spreading the immortal spring's wine's effect to every corner of his body. The talent of this body wasn't bad, so it could absorb the immortal spring's wine more efficiently. 3 days later, Zhao Feng's state of existence and body had increased by leaps and bounds, creating a strong foundation. In this period of time, his body had expelled many impurities. In terms of state of existence alone, Zhao Feng's foundation surpassed the true Lord rank and was close to the origin core realm. As the first realm of the true spirit realm, the true human realm, this was already an advanced foundation and foundation. Moreover, the effect of the immortal spring was only partially digested. That's right. This time, I want to strengthen my foundation even more. Zhao Feng secretly nodded. Only then did he officially start cultivating the 5 elemental wind lightning technique. The first 3 levels, wind and thunder foundation, were not difficult for Zhao Feng. His soul easily resonated with heaven and earth as he guided the power of wind and lightning into his body, tempering his body and merging it with his meridians. Due to his high cultivation, Zhao Feng's refinement of wind and lightning energy was extremely pure. It was predictable. Zhao Feng's cultivation of the first 3 layers of the foundation of wind and lightning was definitely ahead of others. On the material, inside Zhao Feng's ancient metal ring, there were still some rare thunder crystals left behind from his previous life, as well as a small amount of spirit materials suitable for the current stage. Only an hour had passed. A wisp of wind and lightning true force had formed in Zhao Feng's body, and its quality far surpassed the fire true force in his dantian. The original owner of this body cultivated the Tao of fire. However, due to its low level and weak foundation, it didn't affect Zhao Feng much. As time passed, wisps of wind and lightning true force merged into his dantian and cleansed the fire true force. If it was at the king realm, the true yuan dimension in his dantian would have been formed, and the scarlet gold wind lightning true yuan couldn't be cleansed like this. At that time, if he wanted to recultivate, he would have to destroy the scarlet gold wind lightning true yuan. It was like a building. The lower the level, the easier it would be to add more floors. The original owner's body was still at the foundational level and hadn't even formed a root of law, so recultivating wasn't difficult. In just 3 days, Zhao Feng's 5 elemental wind lightning technique had reached the first level. Another half a month passed. Zhao Feng had successfully stepped into the second level. At this point in time, 99% of the fire true force within his body had been rejected. Within his source of true spirit was a clear liquid wind lightning true force that flowed endlessly throughout his body. My current cultivation is equivalent to the peak true human rank, but I don't need the root of law. Zhao Feng murmured. King intent and emperor intent were countless levels higher than the root of law. However, as his cultivation increased, Zhao Feng would polish his intent. When he recovered his cultivation base to the empty god realm, the great emperor's will would be like a furnace that had been reforged. There would be changes in its attributes and it would undoubtedly be purer and more condensed. All in all, this recultivation would make Zhao Feng's foundation stronger and his path wider. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed as Zhao Feng entered seclusion. At this point in time, his 5 elemental wind lightning technique had reached the peak second level and his cultivation had reached the true mystic rank. The true spirit realm was split into 3 realms: true human rank, true mystic rank, and true lord rank. Normal geniuses needed at least 10 years to reach the true mystic rank. The true mystic rank needed to comprehend the root of law, which would make those at the true human rank be stuck for life. However, Zhao Feng only had 2 months to reach the true mystic rank. In terms of speed, it's slightly slower than the demigod Kun Yun's blood rebirth. Zhao Feng had to admit one thing. Blood rebirth could quickly create a physical body similar to when one was alive. This was especially so for the demigod Kun Yun, who had used his blood essence to revive and continue his bloodline and yuan qi from his previous life. Even a drop of blood from a demigod would be 100 times stronger than him. However, the demigod Kuan Yun's blood rebirth was still the same as before. My golden Kuan's sacred lightning body and 5 elemental wind lightning technique are better than the demigod Kuan Yun's technique. Zhao Feng understood the pros and cons. It was just like how he had taken over another body and gotten rid of the cursed words of death, but he had lost the mystic ice-scaled race bloodline. After 2 months of seclusion, Zhao Feng finally exited his seclusion and stopped cultivating. If he was willing, if Zhao Feng went into seclusion for another half a year, he would at least reach the origin core realm. However, that would be too shocking. There was a bottom line even if he wanted to be high profile. There was another important reason. Zhao Feng still needed to cultivate the golden Kuan's sacred lightning body, and the difference between the two techniques couldn't be too big. However, the golden Kuan's sacred lightning body was a body-strengthening technique, and it needed some body-strengthening materials. Zhao Feng didn't have any of those. In reality, Zhao Feng could cultivate the 5 elemental wind lightning technique alone. That way, he would be able to advance faster, but he couldn't resist the temptation of the golden Kuan's sacred lightning body. After the sacred lightning body reached the late stages, it wouldn't be indestructible, and he would be able to revive from a single drop of blood like the demigod Kuan Yun. The biggest advantage was that the sacred lightning body had a huge advantage when dealing with the God Tribulation in the future. After all, the God Tribulation was the biggest threat when trying to break through to the heavenly divine realm. Once he cultivated the golden Kuan's sacred lightning body, Zhao Feng's confidence in dealing with the God Tribulation lightning would increase by 50%. At that time, he might even be able to use the God Tribulation to refine his body and increase his strength. Although this was all in the future, Zhao Feng couldn't help but think about the future. As soon as Zhao Feng came out of seclusion, several guests appeared outside. There were 2 origin core realms among them. Zhao Feng, I heard that you have a tamed Yinming bird. Can we trade it? One of the late-stage small origin core realms said eagerly. Sorry, I don't trade the Yinming bird. Zhao Feng shook his head and rejected. However, there were still some people who weren't willing to give up. Zhao Feng, my master is the Deputy Hall Master of the Mystic Spell Hall and has the potential to break through to the Void God realm. If you're willing to trade the Yinming bird, it'll be beneficial to you in the future. One of the slightly chubby youths spoke confidently with an air of seniority. Zhao Feng knew this youth. He was also a core disciple, and his name was Wang Yuan. In reality, with Zhao Feng's talent, several great origin core realm sovereign lords and a half-step void god realm wanted to take him as a disciple. However, Zhao Feng wanted to stand out in the clan in 2 years and become a disciple of a king. This was also what the Zhao clan wanted. The Zhao clan also had great origin core realm sovereign lords. Only by becoming a disciple of a king would they be able to change the fate of Zhao Feng and his family. Shoo, even if you're a king, I won't trade. Zhao Feng finally became impatient and waved his hand. This scene made the expressions of the chubby youth, Wang Yuan, and everyone else become ugly. A measly true spirit realm dares to act so arrogantly? One of the small origin core realm elders was enraged. Zhao Feng snickered coldly without saying anything. He waved his hand, and the void flaming Yinming bird appeared before him. The Yinming bird's aura forced the nearby people back. They watched as Zhao Feng left on the Yinming bird in a flashy manner, and they gnashed their teeth and cursed. Not long after Zhao Feng had left, Senior Marshal Brother Guang's figure appeared nearby, and he walked with the chubby youth, Wang Yuan. This brat's more arrogant than I thought. Wang Yuan was slightly surprised. This brat's EQ is too low. He offended so many people at once. With his personality, even if he has a mid-tier family behind him, he probably won't be able to survive for long in the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Senior Marshal Brother Guang acted as if he was watching a show. He was the one who spread the news that Zhao Feng had the Yinming bird. The Yin family had promised him that as long as Zhao Feng died, he would obtain great benefits no matter what method he used. Furthermore, Senior Marshal Brother Guang was jealous that Zhao Feng's cultivation had increased dramatically and he even had the Yinming bird. The void flaming Yinming bird that was 20 yards wide landed in a trading castle within the 10,000 Sacred Clan. The territory of the 10,000 Sacred Clan was extremely big. Just the territory of the sect was equivalent to the size of the Cloud country, which was equivalent to a small country. Therefore, Zhao Feng didn't even need to leave the clan. He could take care of most of his needs in the clan. This was also why Zhao Feng chose to stay in the 10,000 Sacred Clan. He would only head to the Lord Dynasty after he fulfilled this youth's wish and broke through to the half-step Void Ocean Spiritual Palace. The castle in front of him was dozens of miles wide, and it was similar to a small Void Ocean Spiritual Palace. It was used to trade within the clan. Zhao Feng put away the Yinming bird, and the little thieving cat sat on his shoulder as its eyes spun. Half a day later, Zhao Feng traded for some body-strengthening materials. At the same time, he sold some materials that weren't useful to him in his previous life. Of course, Zhao Feng didn't sell anything that would attract the attention of those at the half-step Void God realm or higher. Zhao Feng, stop right there. A group of people stopped Zhao Feng when he walked out of the trading castle. This group was all core disciples, and the chubby youth from before, Wang Yuan, was among them. There were even 2 core disciples, which surprised Zhao Feng. Chapter 768. In the 10,000 Sacred Clan, most core disciples were disciples of kings, and their status surpassed normal core disciples. Zhao Feng obviously recognized these 2 core disciples. One of them was Senior Marshal Brother Guang, the leader of the previous mission. The other male was skinny, and his shoulders seemed to be carved out. His eyes were bright, and he gave off a sharp aura. This person's cultivation had reached the half-step origin core realm. Senior Marshal Brother Huang Yunhu, it's this brat who's arrogant and disrespectful to kings. The slightly chubby youth, Wang Yuan, said. Before, Zhao Feng had said that even if a king came personally, he wouldn't trade the Yinming bird. These words were obviously embellished by Wang Yuan, saying that Zhao Feng didn't even put kings in his eyes, and so on. Huang Yunhu, core disciple of King Lu Yun. This brat loves face, and he can't accept flattery. There were memories in Zhao Feng's mind. Although this Zhao Feng had only been in the 10,000 Sacred Clan for half a year, he obviously knew about the core disciples of the famous figures. You're that Zhao Feng? Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? How can you speculate on the opinions of kings? Huang Yunhu had an unfriendly and cold expression. It was very common for disciples to fight amongst themselves in the 10,000 Sacred Clan. The clan would close one eye as long as they didn't kill each other. After all, these fights could increase the competition between the disciples. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao. Hurry up and apologize to Senior Marshal Brother Huang and Junior Marshal Brother Wang Yuan. You know Senior Marshal Brother Huang's temper. Senior Marshal Brother Guang pretended to appear in between Zhao Feng and Huang Yunhu. He had a concerned expression as he tried to persuade Zhao Feng not to act rashly. How about this, Junior Zhao Feng? All you need to do is kowtow and admit your crimes. I won't pursue your disrespectful words towards kings anymore. Huang Yunhu crossed his arms and said forcefully. His words were filled with righteousness as if he was the disciple of a king realm king. Zhao Feng knew that these were all pretexts to bully the disciples. All kinds of far-fetched reasons. If it were an ordinary disciple, they might argue, but in the end, it would be useless. Naturally, Zhao Feng wouldn't be polite to these people who bullied the weak in the sect circles. Humph! 2 bottom-feeder existences among true disciples. Aren't you afraid of embarrassing your master? Zhao Feng had a look of contempt on his face. As soon as these words came out, the crowd instantly fell into a dead silence. The other core disciples broke out in cold sweat for Zhao Feng. Huang Yunhu and Lin Yun were indeed below average amongst the direct disciples. But even so, the 2 of them were among the upper echelons of the core disciples. You brat! How dare you disrespect a true disciple? Even Senior Marshal Brother Guang felt embarrassed. Huang Yunhu was infuriated. He was a true inheritor, but he was being looked down upon by a disciple who had joined the sect for half a year. Immediately, he circulated his half-step True Yuan, and a thick layer of scarlet earth crystal light appeared on his body. This area seemed to be inexplicably heavy. Neil. Huang Yunhu's half-step origin core realm aura was enough to easily deal with a true mystic rank. He was confident that he would be able to suppress this brat with just one move. However, the handsome youth in his sight smiled in disdain and gently waved his hand. Behind him, a giant dark bird spread its translucent wings and shot towards Huang Yunhu. The Yinming bird's powerful aura made the faces of Huang Yunhu and company go white, and their hearts trembled. Zhao Feng, how dare you rely on your spiritual pet in a sparring match between disciples? Senior brother Guang couldn't help but roar. Bam, bam. Huang Yunhu was hit by a gust of wind and screamed as his body flew dozens of yards back like a piece of paper before landing on the ground. The remaining shockwaves caused some other core disciples to be lightly injured. One had to know. The Yinming bird was a rare soul-type beast of death, and the wind contained a soul attack that could kill life. Huang Yunhu lay on the ground with cold sweat dripping down his forehead. Is this the strength of a core disciple? Zhao Feng had a disdainful expression. Zhao Feng, you're just relying on your spiritual pet. If you have the ability, then fight me fair and square. Huang Yunhu climbed up with unwillingness and hatred on his face. Senior brother Guang said fiercely, Zhao Feng, your spiritual pet injured a core disciple. Aren't you afraid of being punished by a king? Hearing this, Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. At that time, senior brother Guang and company would probably think of a way to punish Zhao Feng's spiritual pet. If it was a disciple injuring a disciple, it would just be a fight between juniors. However, if it was a spiritual pet injuring a disciple, the meaning was different. Is that so? Zhao Feng licked his lips as he walked in front of Huang Yunhu and stepped on his right leg. Huang Yunhu screamed miserably. There was a cracking sound as his right leg was broken. It was hard to imagine that a true mystic rank disciple like Zhao Feng had such a strong body. The nearby core disciples shuddered in fear. Huang Yunhu challenged me and I broke one of his legs. Who else doesn't want to accept this? Zhao Feng's eyes scanned across the crowd. These disciples avoided Zhao Feng's gaze, their faces filled with fear as they trembled in fear. Ha! Zhao Feng raised his head and laughed as he rode the Yinming bird through the air. The core disciples had ugly expressions and were extremely unwilling. Shameless. This Zhao Feng is relying on his spiritual pet to act so arrogantly. Everyone cursed but couldn't do anything. If it wasn't for that Yinming bird, I would have been able to beat Zhao Feng. A peak true mystic rank core disciple said unwillingly. On the same day, the news of Zhao Feng injuring a core disciple with his spiritual pet spread across the disciples. On the same night, Huang Yunhu, who was injured, went to the King Elder's palace and complained to his master. That Zhao Feng injuring a disciple is a small matter, but he was disrespectful to a king and humiliated master. This is unforgivable. Huang Yunhu was covered in tears and snot. He was a core disciple of a king, but he was humiliated by a youth that had just entered the clan. The hatred and humiliation in his heart couldn't be resolved. Haven't you lost enough face? King Lu Yun, who was wearing snow-white robes, snickered coldly and said. King Lu Yun was one of the 17 kings of the 10,000 sacred clan. Facing his disciples begging, King Lu Yun's eyebrows furrowed. He knew that this matter had left a shadow in his disciple's heart. However, he was a king and couldn't lower his status to attack a disciple. How about this? I'll lend you a two-headed lightning bird. This bird has the cultivation of a sovereign lord and can help you suppress the Yinming bird. King Lu Yun waved his hand, and a unique token appeared in his hand. He circulated his king intent and left an imprint on the token. Thank you, master. Huang Yunhu was overjoyed. Although his master's two-headed lightning bird wasn't his main steed, it could suppress normal sovereign lords. You need to defeat that brat with your own strength. However, you can't kill him, King Lu Yun said. He was already trying to protect Huang Yunhu by lending him his steed. If Huang Yunhu accidentally killed Zhao Feng, it would be a problem. The regulations elder of the 10,000 sacred clan was an emperor-rank void god realm, and he was impartial and emotionless. Disciple understands. I'll cripple him, but I'll spare his life. Huang Yunhu was overjoyed. He ate the spiritual pill that his master had given him, and his broken leg quickly healed with the help of his magnificent power. The next day, Huang Yunhu's injuries had mostly healed, and he immediately went to find Zhao Feng. However, a defensive array was activated in Zhao Feng's courtyard, and a sign that he was in seclusion was put up. Cunning brat! He's hiding! Huang Yunhu exploded in anger. That Zhao Feng is indeed shameless. He went into seclusion early. Some of the disciples that were watching felt bored. The 10,000 Sacred Clan had a rule that unless there was a special situation, a core disciple in seclusion wasn't to be disturbed. Senior Martial Brother Huang, don't worry. Senior Martial Brother Guang came out from the crowd and smiled. Junior Martial Brother Guang, what do you think? Huang Yunhu glanced over. Guang Tian was also a king's disciple, but he was only an in-name disciple, and he barely had the status of a core disciple. According to the rules, a core disciple has to complete a mission every month, and it can't be more than 3 months late. That Zhao Feng hasn't completed a mission for 2 months already. Guang Tian had a smile. Hearing this, the disciples came to a realization. So that's how it is. If it's more than 3 months, he'll be warned by the clan, and if it's more than half a year, he'll be punished. These disciples were very familiar with the rules of the clan. Haha, brat Zhao Feng, I'll make you hide for a month. Huang Yunhu laughed loudly. In another month, the clan would send someone to warn Zhao Feng. This meant that Zhao Feng would only be able to enter seclusion for a month at most before he was interrupted. Everyone, disperse. The divine illusion dimension will open in half a year's time. If we can enter the divine illusion dimension and obtain treasures from the ancient era, it'll be a great boost to our cultivation. The group of core disciples dispersed. They agreed to come back and punish Zhao Feng in a month's time. Within a room in the courtyard at this moment, Zhao Feng was soaking in a layer of medicinal liquid, and wisps of wind lightning started to appear on his body as it refined his body. The Golden Kuan Sacred Lightning Body is split into 8 levels. At the 7th level, one can form the Demigod Lightning Body, which increases one's resistance to the 5 elements and God Tribulation Lightning. Before the 7th level, each level corresponds to a major realm. Zhao Feng was cultivating the 1st level of the Sacred Lightning Body. The original version of the Golden Kuan Sacred Body had extremely strict cultivation requirements. However, the improved Golden Kuan Sacred Lightning Body could use the power of 10,000 lightning to refine one's body. If one cultivated the 5-elemental 10,000 lightning technique or the 5-elemental wind lightning technique, the requirements would be lowered and they could be used together. Zhao Feng had already cultivated the 5-elemental wind lightning technique to the 3rd level. Now, he could use the power of wind lightning to refine his body, and body-strengthening materials could greatly increase the efficiency. Comparatively speaking, the advancement of body-tempering cultivation techniques was much slower than ordinary cultivation techniques. However, Zhao Feng had consumed the Immortal Springs wine earlier, and his body and state of existence had changed. Now, with the help of the wind lightning technique at the 3rd level and some high-quality body-strengthening materials, the effect was extremely good. 3 days later, Zhao Feng's Golden Kuan Sacred Lightning Body had reached the peak of the 1st level. Half a month later, his Sacred Lightning Body had reached the late stages of the 2nd level. At this moment, a faint layer of metallic lines appeared on Zhao Feng's skin, which was similar to the faint green color of his wind lightning true force. An invisible physical pressure radiated from Zhao Feng's body. A nearby chair was smashed into smithereens by the formless power of his physical body. Soon, a month had passed. Zhao Feng's Sacred Lightning Body had reached the peak of the 2nd level, and the muscles and bones in his body contained a dominating power that could crush anything. Physical strength was just one aspect. The Sacred Lightning Body also gave Zhao Feng the ability to absorb the power of lightning and become immune to a certain amount of elemental attacks. Chapter 769. The first 3 levels of the Golden Kuan Sacred Lightning Body corresponded to the realms before the Origin Core Realm. Zhao Feng had only cultivated to the peak 2nd level, but his body alone was comparable to the true mystic rank. If he broke through to the third level, he would be able to kill true Lord ranks with his body alone. The first 3 levels were just the foundation of the sacred lightning body. My state of existence and body aren't strong enough yet, or else I could return to the ancient dream realm and obtain some resources. A plan appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. However, the amount of resources needed for body strengthening exceeded Zhao Feng's expectations. The amount of resources needed to cultivate both the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body and the 5 elemental wind lightning technique at the same time wasn't small. Zhao Feng calculated. If he didn't enter the ancient dream realm soon, he might face a shortage of resources when he reached the Great Origin Core realm. Apart from that, he also needed some rare Tao of the soul treasures to recover. Only when his soul reached the Void God realm would Zhao Feng's emperor intent be able to fully awaken and return to its peak. Right now, Zhao Feng didn't have many Tao of the soul resources. Resources? Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed as he started to plan. Only now did he understand why the child demigod needed resources so much. Of course, if he cultivated honestly and didn't use any resources, he would be able to return to his peak within a dozen or so years. However, Zhao Feng didn't want to wait that long. I need to return to the Void God realm within 3 years. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled. A while later, in Zhao Feng's heart he had a few ways to make money. First, taming spiritual beasts. If he could tame a few more beasts like the Yinming bird, he would be able to make a lot of money. Second, adventuring. He could go to some dangerous ruins or secret realms and dig up some ancient treasures. Third, clan missions. Completing some difficult sect missions would reward them handsomely. The contribution points obtained from the missions could also be exchanged for some precious resources. Relatively speaking, the first and third were safer, and the rewards were more stable. The second option, exploration and adventure, was a little dangerous. Just as Zhao Feng was thinking, Zhao Feng. A thunderous voice came from outside the courtyard. That voice even penetrated the defensive formation. Zhao Feng walked out of the house and saw a purple-robed law enforcer floating outside the courtyard. His cultivation had reached the Great Origin Core realm. Law enforcer, what can I do for you? Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly. Under normal circumstances, as long as one didn't violate the sect's rules, the law enforcers wouldn't come to question them. From the corner of his eye, he could see the gloating expressions of some of the core disciples near the courtyard. In the crowd, Huang Yunhu, Wang Yuan, and senior brother Guang Tian were all present. Zhao Feng, you haven't completed any sect missions in 3 months. I, the enforcer, have come to give you a warning. I will also suspend your supply of core disciple resources for the next 3 months. The purple-robed law enforcer looked down at Zhao Feng indifferently. Deducting 3 months' worth of resources in one go was not a small matter for ordinary sect disciples. In a competitive sect, without resources, one would fall behind others. If you don't complete the mission in half a year, you will be punished by the sect. The purple-robed law enforcer then left. The purple-robed law enforcer left after saying that. Zhao Feng was stunned. He had been cultivating the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body and the 5 elemental wind lightning technique for the past 3 months, so he had forgotten about this. I'll finish all the missions for the next year and get some resources. Zhao Feng made a decision. He felt pain to have 3 months' worth of resources deducted from a core disciple's salary. No matter how small a fly's leg was, it was still meat, especially to Zhao Feng who had just recultivated. Shua. After deactivating the defensive array, Zhao Feng came out of seclusion and prepared to go on missions. At the same time, he would go to some places in the wilderness to tame some spiritual beasts. Zhao Feng, I've been waiting for you. A lean and sharp-looking man leaped forward to block Zhao Feng. It was Huang Yunhu. He had waited an entire month for today. Now that he had borrowed a flying spiritual beast from King Lu Yun, he could counter Zhao Feng's Yinming bird. Loser. Zhao Feng glanced at him with disdain. Hearing this, the crowd broke out into chaos. Huang Yunhu almost went crazy from anger. He had been looked down upon by this true mystic rank brat. Zhao Feng, you still have the nerve to say that when you used your spiritual beast last time. This brat doesn't know shame. The nearby central disciples all felt embarrassed for Zhao Feng and laughed. The central disciples all knew that Huang Yunhu had something to rely on this time. Zhao Feng, don't fight. Huang Yunhu borrowed his master King Lu Yun's twin-legged thunderbird this time, said a gentle and concerned female voice. The lightning bird has the cultivation of a great origin core realm sovereign lord. Senior Martial Sister Wan? Zhao Feng glanced over and saw Senior Martial Sister Wan Rong rushing over. Her gentle aura immediately attracted the gazes of the nearby male disciples. Senior Martial Sister Wan, don't worry. He's just a loser. Zhao Feng smiled. He had a good impression of Senior Martial Sister Wan. After all, she had healed him when he had just taken over this body. Brat, don't be arrogant. Huang Yunhu was enraged. How could he tolerate being looked down upon by a true mystic rank youth? After speaking, a token appeared in his hand, and a wisp of king intent appeared on it. In the next instant, crackle, a large two-legged lightning bird appeared in a flash of lightning. It was even slightly bigger than Zhao Feng's Yinming bird. King intent? Zhao Feng murmured. It wasn't hard for him to see that Huang Yunhu could control the two-legged lightning bird for a short amount of time. Otherwise, even though Huang Yunhu was at the half-step origin core realm, he wouldn't even be able to get past the sovereign lord rank two-legged lightning bird. Who? Zhao Feng didn't hesitate. He waved his hand, and a giant flaming bird charged into the sky. So, Huang Yunhu and Zhao Feng arrived in the air above a piece of ruins. The clash of two origin core realm birds attracted the attention of many members of the 10,000 sacred clan. Boom, boom. The two-legged lightning bird and the Yinming bird started to fight in the air. Huang Yunhu and Zhao Feng immediately pulled apart. In terms of cultivation, there was a huge difference between them and the two birds. For example, Zhao Feng. Apart from his soul intent and eye bloodline, he probably wouldn't even be able to dodge the two-legged lightning bird and the Yinming bird. Ah, brat, you won't be able to escape this time. Huang Yunhu laughed as he circulated his half-step True Yuan and turned into a pillar of scarlet earth crystal that shot toward Zhao Feng. As expected of a core disciple, the powerful aura of a half-step primal core realm made the nearby spectating core disciples tremble. Wang Yuan and Senior Martial Brother Guang had bright smiles on their faces. The difference between the true mystic rank and the half-step origin core realm wasn't small. If Zhao Feng was at the true lord rank, he might be able to block it. However, a true mystic rank would be instantly killed by a half-step origin core realm. Shua, Huang Yunhu charged toward Zhao Feng with a heavy force. A normal true mystic rank wouldn't even be able to fight back. Huang Yunhu, stop. Senior Martial Sister Wan Rong not far away couldn't bear to watch. However, Zhao Feng had an expressionless expression as he floated in the air. Shua. A pair of smooth wings of wind and lightning extended from Zhao Feng's back, as if they were alive. An arc of wind and lightning flashed. Boom. Huang Yunhu's ferocious charge missed. He nearly lost his balance on the spot. What? Huang Yunhu only felt his vision blur as he hit a blur. In the next instant, he felt the roar of lightning and a coldness spread down his back. A figure with wings of lightning flashed behind him. Wind lightning hand blade. Zhao Feng's right hand was in the shape of a blade, and a layer of wind lightning appeared on his metallic palm. Crack. The wind lightning blade light, pushed by a powerful physical force, cut through Huang Yunhu's half-step quintessential essence layer. Arg! Huang Yunhu screamed as blood splattered from his back. His body was sent flying dozens of yards away by the wind lightning hand blade and smashed into a ruined building. That slash had injured him quite a bit. The spectators nearby broke out into discussion. What speed! That wings of wind and lightning seems to be a secret skill of our sect's wind lightning technique. Only a small number of people saw the difference in the clash. Firstly, Huang Yunhu had underestimated his opponent first. Secondly, Zhao Feng's shocking speed and the skills of the flying master allowed him to instantly appear behind the target and slash out. What was even more incredible was that the power of Zhao Feng's slash and his powerful body caught Huang Yunhu off guard. That slash contained the power of the 5-elemental wind lightning technique and the golden Kun's sacred lightning body. I underestimated my opponent. Huang Yunhu clenched his teeth and barely managed to get up. In the air, the youth with wings on his back was extremely handsome, like an angel of battle. Zhao Feng, is this your power? Wan Rong's eyes twinkled with shock and doubt. She had a certain level of understanding towards this youth who had just entered the clan. How did Zhao Feng change so much in just 2 to 3 months? Wind lightning exploding fist. Zhao Feng's fist expanded, and it seemed to have a metallic feel to it as it created a dazzling explosion of wind and lightning. Limitless earth. Huang Yunhu's body was covered in a crimson light, and he was like a burning mountain that shook the air. Boom! 2 figures clashed in the air, creating a thunderous sound. Bush, bush. One of the figures with lightning wings used the force to retreat. What? The other figure covered in scarlet light spat out a mouthful of blood as he was pushed back by the powerful shockwaves. Huang Yunhu, you've lost again. The wings of wind and lightning on Zhao Feng's back quickly retracted. He had relied on his powerful defense and reaction speed to not be injured in the clash just now. Huang Yunhu's face was pale, and he had lost most of his battle power. It's all because I underestimated my opponent at the start and was heavily injured. Otherwise, the odds of winning would have been 50-50. Huang Yunhu's face was filled with humiliation, and his fists trembled. That was especially so when Zhao Feng said that he had lost again. It almost made him go crazy, but there was nothing he could do. The spectators nearby were dumbfounded as they witnessed this unexpected turn of events. However, they didn't know that this was only the beginning of a miracle. Chapter 770. None of the central disciples present could accept Huang Yunhu's defeat. This was especially so for the few that knew the original Zhao Feng. Among them, senior martial sister Wan Rong's eyes locked onto Zhao Feng. Apart from shock, there was also suspicion. She felt that the current Zhao Feng and the Zhao Feng of the past were 2 completely different people, whether in terms of temperament or strength. He seemed to sense something. The handsome youth, who was the focus of everyone's attention, looked over with a faint smile and met senior sister Wan Rong's eyes. The Zhao Feng in front of her wasn't just handsome, he also had an indescribable sense of masculinity and confidence. His charisma was enough to make the hearts of most women jump. When their gazes met, Wan Rong's heart started to jump. In her vision, that pair of mysterious eyes seemed to have a soul-sucking power that made senior martial sister Wan Rong fall into it. Her face couldn't help but go red, and her heart jumped as she lowered her head in embarrassment. Wan Rong found this hard to accept. She, who had always been reserved and quiet, had never shown such a girlish attitude in front of a young boy. However, that young man had left an indescribable good impression in her heart. She even had a trace of uncontrollable feelings for him. Zhao Feng smiled faintly and took back his gaze. Just now he sensed senior martial sister Wan Rong's suspicions, so he used the heart-controlling technique to dissolve her suspicions and make her have a good impression of him. This way, senior martial sister Wan Rong wouldn't suspect him or think negatively of him. Zhao Feng didn't want to kill senior martial sister Wan Rong because of her suspicions. This ability to control people's minds could resolve some small problems for Zhao Feng without spilling blood. Apart from senior martial sister Wan Rong, not many people in the 10,000 Sacred Clan knew the original Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng nodded his head. The original Zhao Feng was a loner, and not many people knew about him. This way, Zhao Feng's rise wouldn't raise too many suspicions. After all, there were many geniuses in the world who had great fortune. Huang Yunhu, you've already lost. Why aren't you putting away the 2-legged thunderbird? Zhao Feng looked at the sky. The 2-legged thunderbird and the Yinming bird were locked in battle. The Yinming bird was at a disadvantage in terms of cultivation, so it would definitely lose if the battle continued. At this moment, a king's will surged through the air, and the medallion in Huang Yunhu's hand suddenly lit up. It released a layer of lightning and put away the 2-legged lightning bird. Only a small number of people present could sense the existence of the king intent. Zhao Feng was one of them. The king intent paused for a moment on Zhao Feng's body. At the same time, In the residence of a king elder of the 10,000 sacred clan, that brat's cultivation technique is mysterious and peculiar. The aura on his body is also very strange. If you don't have a great teacher to guide you, you will definitely have a great opportunity. King Lu Yun murmured. He secretly paid attention to Zhao Feng. If Lin Yun was able to make some progress in the next half a year, King Lu Yun would consider accepting him as his direct disciple. The Yinming bird took Zhao Feng away with a gust of cold wind. This Zhao Feng's strength has increased by leaps and bounds in the past few months. There must be some kind of secret or great fortune on him. The disciples below started to discuss. Huang Yun, whose expression was grim as he struggled to stand up. Wang Yuan, senior marshal brother Guang, and company immediately came over and helped him up. I didn't think that Zhao Feng would have such great fortune and become so strong. Looks like the following missions won't be able to pose much of a threat to him. Senior marshal brother Guang's expression kept changing. Zhao Feng's true strength had exceeded his expectations. I need to tell the Yin family about this as soon as possible. Otherwise, he'll be a great threat. Senior marshal brother Guang soon made up his mind. On the other side, Zhao Feng sat on the Yinming bird and landed in front of the mission hall. 3 months ago, Zhao Feng didn't complete the missions on time, so there was a total of 3 missions per month. Zhao Feng didn't put any of the 3 missions in his eyes. He was preparing to do large amounts of missions, including some of the more difficult ones, to accumulate resources and points. Within a side hall. Zhao Feng, you've missed 3 missions. I'll give you missions now. A black-faced deacon with sharp eyes said coldly. Zhao Feng expressionlessly waited for the missions to be given to him. The next 3 missions were punishment type. They couldn't be chosen, and there were no rewards. So, Zhao Feng received the first mission. The objective of the mission was to kill a type of mud poison lizard that lived in the center of the swamp and obtain the mud poison heart in its body. There were 20 of them. The mud poison lizards weren't strong, and a true human rank could easily finish off a few of them. However, Zhao Feng soon saw the difficulty of this mission. The mud poison lizards were beasts that lived in groups of several hundred. Each group would have a mud poison lizard king whose strength was comparable to the true lord rank. Furthermore, these lizards lived in the depths of the swamp, and Zhao Feng's Yinming bird couldn't do much. It was obvious that this mission was targeted at Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng expressionlessly accepted the mission and sat on the Yinming bird. For hours later, he arrived at a swamp. An hour later, Zhao Feng had obtained 1,000 mud poison hearts. Furthermore, he had tamed 2 true lord rank mud poison lizard kings. This mud poison lizard king had the power of poison and corrosion. It even had the special ability to petrify. Its defense was also extremely strong. After handing in the mission, Zhao Feng exchanged the 1,000 mud poison hearts for points and rewards. The 2 mud poison lizard kings were auctioned off at the exchange castle. As a tamed spiritual pet, its price was several times higher than that of a pure demonic beast, or even a dozen times higher. The second mission, Zhao Feng came over and accepted the punishment mission. The black-faced deacon was slightly surprised and quickly gave the second mission to Zhao Feng. After reading the mission, Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. This mission was a group mission and its rank was slightly high. The second day, in front of the Hall of Missions. Guys, are you ready? A drunken Origin Core Realm elder looked at Zhao Feng and company with crooked eyes. The leader was an Origin Core Realm expert. From this, it could be seen that the rank of the mission wasn't low. Zhao Feng's gaze swept over the crowd. Most of them were different and had bad characters. After all this time, these members of the clan were the ones that hadn't completed the mission and were put together. Looking at the drunk leader, Zhao Feng lost confidence in this mission. At the very least, it wouldn't be easy. Everyone, I'll be leaving first. Zhao Feng left the group and went alone. Brat, how are you going to complete the mission if you don't know the details? The Origin Core Realm elders smiled mockingly. As a group mission, the details were in the hands of the leader. Meow meow. Right at this moment, a silver-gray cat grabbed a special leather scroll and landed on Zhao Feng. Arg! My mission scroll. The leader of the Origin Core Realms roared in anger as he sobered up. However, The Yinming bird that Zhao Feng sat on was extremely fast, and no one could catch up to it. The group instantly beat their chests and cursed, causing many people in front of the Hall of Missions to look at them. The second mission is to destroy a group of bandits in the northern mountains of the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Apparently, the leader of the bandits broke through to the Origin Core realm half a year ago, and he's much more dangerous now. Zhao Feng looked through the details of the mission. The mission scroll described the location of the mission, as well as some of the characteristics of the bandit group's strength. Several hours later, Zhao Feng sat on the Yinming bird and arrived at the location of the incident. Seeing that there was no one around, Zhao Feng opened his god's spiritual eye and scanned everything within several thousand miles. Not long after, in a cave palace, screams rang out incessantly. A while later, the Yinming bird carried Zhao Feng away from the tattered cave with a bloody aura. In just the time it took for half an incense stick to burn. Zhao Feng cleaned out the base of this bandit group and obtained the heads of the bandit leaders as tokens. Within the Hall of Missions of the 10,000 Sacred Clan, the second mission has been completed. Zhao Feng gave the items to the black-faced deacon. I heard that you left the group again and went on this mission by yourself? The black-faced deacon had a weird expression. He confirmed again and again that Zhao Feng had completed the mission, and he had all the items and heads. Just in case, Zhao Feng deliberately made things difficult for him in the future, so Zhao Feng recorded a special scene that replayed the entire process of the bandit map being destroyed. The black-faced deacon was speechless. The third quest, I'm sorry, is also a team quest. The black-faced deacon opened a scroll, and a playful smile appeared on his face. Zhao Feng rolled his eyes. But don't worry, the mission this time is special. The members aren't like those ruffians from last time. The black-faced deacon added in a solemn tone. Special mission? Zhao Feng opened the scroll and glanced at it. This mission wasn't very secretive. Special mission: destroy a native lord dynasty. Mission description: a native lord dynasty has just been born in a small region in the southwestern part of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone and has insulted the Great Gan Lord dynasty. Zhao Feng couldn't help but take in a cold breath after reading the content. He then looked at the mission description and saw that the members were all extremely strong. The leader and vice leader were both at the Great Origin Core realm, there were 7 at the Small Origin Core realm, and 40 to 50 at the True Spirit realm. This was the first time Zhao Feng had participated in such a powerful group. Zhao Feng also saw Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong and Senior Marshal Brother Guang Tian in the list of members. The next morning, this powerful mission team met up in front of the main hall. The leader was an elder with a white beard and a white robe. He had a solemn expression and gave off an invisible aura. Everyone knows that the southeastern part of the continent zone and the nearby limitless ocean belong to the Great Gan Lord dynasty. The elder in white robes paused for a moment. The Great Gan Lord dynasty. Zhao Feng hadn't cultivated for long and didn't know much about this lord dynasty. However, he knew that the oceans, including the Tsang Ocean, belonged to the Great Gan Lord dynasty. The Great Gan Lord dynasty gathers the providence of this world and won't allow a second Lord dynasty to be established. The elder in white robe's eyes flashed. The mission this time was to destroy a new Lord dynasty that surpassed the Canopy Great Country. Zhao Feng and Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong stood together. This special mission was given by the Duke's Palace, the ruling organization of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. The final reward is extremely generous. Wan Rong introduced in a low tone. Zhao Feng realized that the Great Gan Lord dynasty didn't rule the world of sects, it was the Great Gan Lord dynasty that ruled over this area. Chapter 771. The Great Gan Lord dynasty wasn't like normal mortal countries. It reigned above billions of lives, clans, and families. It gathered the fortune of heaven and earth and formed a supreme divine country. When the Great Gan Sacred Emperor was enraged, millions of corpses would be killed, and 2-star and 3-star sects would tremble in fear. The law of the Lord dynasty was that everyone under the heavens was a soldier of the Lord dynasty. In name, the territory of the 10,000 Sacred Clan belonged to the Great Gan Lord dynasty. This mission isn't given by the clan. It should be from the Great Gon Lord dynasty. Zhao Feng understood. The Tianfeng Great Island Zone also had a lord dynasty, and that was the Duke Palace. The Duke Palace had a duke who was a relative of the emperor, and he was given a part of the ocean near the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. Just this territory alone had more resources than the Tianlu Islands Zone and the ancient Azure Islands Zone combined. Everyone's here. I'll do the roll call. The leading elder in white robes had a powerful aura. During the roll call, the elder in white would ask about the strengths and abilities of those he wasn't familiar with. The elder in white paused when he heard the name Zhao Feng. Strengths, Beast Tamer. Zhao Feng reached out and touched the little thieving cat's fur as he answered succinctly. A weird expression appeared on the elder in white robe's face. This brat at the true mystic rank didn't respect a great origin core realm sovereign lord at all. On the other side, coldness flashed through Senior Marshal Brother Guang's eyes. Zhao Feng, this Lord Dynasty mission will be the day of your death. Senior Marshal Brother Guang calmed his emotions and walked over with a smile as he talked to Wan Rong, who was next to Zhao Feng. Senior Marshal Brother Guang had always liked Wan Rong, this gentle and beautiful junior marshal sister. In the past, Senior Marshal Brother Guang had already gained Wan Rong's trust and affection. However, Senior Marshal Brother Guang found that junior marshal sister Wan Rong and Zhao Feng were very close. In front of Zhao Feng, Wan Rong's beautiful smile blossomed. I'll let this pretty boy be happy for a few days. Senior Marshal Brother Guang suppressed the unhappiness in his heart. Not long after, this powerful team sat on a void ocean ship and flew out of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. In the void sea, Zhao Feng looked down at the Great Island region, which was covered by a layer of light blue mist. He could vaguely see the outline of the river above. To be able to be called a great island region, its scale was 5 to 10 times that of an ordinary island region, and the resources and environment were superior. Zhao Feng also discovered that this place was close to the continent zone, where the qi of heaven and earth was denser, and the spatial structure and pressure were stronger. As such, it was the same level of power. It could destroy a city in the ash-gray sea. However, in the continent zone, it could only destroy a mountain manor. The ship's speed was shocking. It was more than half the speed of the ghost ship. Clearly, the cultivation civilization of the continent's dynasty was much more prosperous than that of the ash-gray sea. 3 days later, the ship approached an island region with thinner vital energy that was similar to the azure flower continent. This is the flawless region. Everyone, you prepare for battle. The white-robed old man shouted. Inside the ship, Zhao Feng opened his eyes and exited cultivation. Over the past few days, his cultivation had reached the peak true mystic rank, and he would be able to break through to the true lord rank soon. Zhao Feng was satisfied with the progress of his cultivation. So, the void ship passed through the air membrane field of the island and created a shower of sparks. This island region is very similar to the azure flower continent. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. According to what he knew, the flawless region was at the edge of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. The situation in this island region was chaotic, and it was extremely xenophobic. For a long time, it had been a lawless place. On the other hand, the Great Gon Lord dynasty's control over the limitless ocean wasn't as strong as before. For example, the Tsang Ocean that Zhao Feng was in was out of the Great Gon Lord dynasty's control. 2 hours later, a majestic palace tower appeared in his field of vision. Kill all the true spirit realm experts that escape from the palace. The white-robed old man ordered. As soon as he finished speaking, a loud explosion sounded. Boom! An earth-gray giant axe fell from the sky, bringing with it an earth-shattering destructive star flame that instantly covered the tower of the imperial palace. In an instant, the palace tower was razed to the ground. The capital city where the imperial palace was located was also affected, and screams of slaughter filled the air. There were origin core realms and true lord rank experts in the capital, and they all charged over with red eyes. To be able to establish a kingdom in their region, their strength was naturally not to be underestimated. However, this group was led by a great origin core realm sovereign lord, and all of them had complete Earth-grade weapons. They were peak 2-star sovereign lords, and their strength far surpassed this lord dynasty's. The area around the capital was filled with slaughter. At the start, the Lord dynasty still had some ability to fight back, but it became a massacre later on. It looks like the prosperous Daguang dynasty of the Azure Flower domain was destroyed overnight just like that. Zhao Feng murmured. The reason he joined the battle was to deal with the true spirit realm experts that were running away. You frogs at the bottom of a well want to create a Lord dynasty and fight for fortune with the Great Gone Lord dynasty. The white-robed sovereign lord's battle power was shocking as he slayed 2 origin core realms. At this moment, several origin core realms surrounded him, but they were all forced to retreat. At the same time as the battle continued, the white-robed old man ordered the others to kill the ones that escaped. Zhao Feng, senior martial sister Wan Rong, and the other true spirit realms were responsible for killing the small fry. Some members of the Imperials of the Lord dynasty escaped to a hidden place under the protection of experts. Zhao Feng was one of the members responsible for killing those that escaped. The royal family members who were being hunted fought back or knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. Zhao Feng's principle was to not kill those that surrendered. In reality, there was no true right or wrong in this battle, only different standpoints. One mountain couldn't contain 2 tigers. How could the Great Gone Lord dynasty allow another Lord dynasty to be created? At a certain moment. Watch out, there's an ambush. Zhao Feng chased into a canyon and suddenly heard the screams of the clan members nearby. One origin core realm and several true spirit realms that had chased into the canyon died. Who was it? Zhao Feng squinted his eyes as he stood on the Yinming bird. Zhao Feng, you can only blame yourself for showing off. Today, in this chaotic land, will be the day you die. A hoarse voice sounded. A short-masked old man walked out of the canyon. The earth-grade dagger in his hand was still stained with blood. Apart from that, another 6 or 7 powerful auras appeared near the canyon, and the weakest of them was at the late-stage small origin core realm. These people all wore black robes and masks. 2 sovereign lords and 6 sovereigns. The Yin family really thinks highly of me. Zhao Feng said mockingly. Facing so many people, the youth in front of him smiled faintly. Such a scene. This made the short old man and the others suspicious, and they secretly raised their guard. Brat, you'd rather die than admit defeat. The cold voice of a female sounded from behind. It was a skinny female in black robes surrounded by a layer of dark flames. This female also cultivated the Tao of death and soul, and her eyes were locked onto the Yinming bird. It was obvious that this ambush had been premeditated. The assassins of the Yin family were able to kill me so accurately in this chaotic situation. There's definitely a traitor in the group. Zhao Feng's heart was like a mirror. The traitor was about to be revealed. If Zhao Feng died in the chaotic situation of the Lord Dynasty mission, the clan wouldn't be too suspicious. The culprit could just shift the killer to the native Lord Dynasty. A long night is fraught with dreams. Let's kill them directly. The short elder at the Great Origin Core realm gripped the Earth-grade dagger and disappeared into the darkness. Shua! The next instant, a sharp coldness pierced into Zhao Feng's heart. The short old man was actually a rare shadow kill Dao expert. However, the Earth-grade dagger in his hand froze as soon as it got close to Zhao Feng. Shua! A mysterious dagger that was as dark as a shadow pierced through the short old man's head. How? The short elder froze as blood dripped onto the ground. The person who killed him also cultivated the Tao of assassination, and they were much more skilled than him. Meow meow. A silver-gray cat appeared behind the short elder and turned into a streak of dark silver light. Bush, bush, bush. Several nearby Origin Core realms had holes in their chests. In the end, only the skinny woman in the dark flames was left. Her eyes were filled with fear, and her back was covered in cold sweat. It was obvious that she was stunned by the little thieving cat's mastery of the Tao of assassination. Zhao Feng was just about to attack when the sound of flying came from the distance. Young Master Zhao, hold on. We'll save you. Several Origin Core realm auras quickly closed in. The leader, an elder with peak Great Origin Core Realm cultivation, held an Earth-grade sword in his hand that turned into a streak of purple light that stabbed toward the skinny female. The skinny female was just about to dodge, but she saw Zhao Feng thrust his palm over. That palm seemed to have some kind of magical power, and a hazy maze of illusions appeared. Boom. Whoosh. The skinny female was dazed as she was instantly killed by the combined attacks of the elder and Zhao Feng. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The elder who attacked led several Origin Core Realm elders to the scene. Zhao Feng, it's good that you're fine. The plain-clothed old man let out a long sigh of relief and wiped the sweat off his forehead. So these people were the elders of the Zhao family, and they had come to save Zhao Feng after receiving some information. Elder, uncles, you've all come at the right time, Zhao Feng said slowly. Meow meow. The little thieving cat sat on his shoulder and looked at him with disdain. The elder and company couldn't help but sweat and have awkward expressions. If it weren't for the little thieving cat, they might have seen Zhao Feng's corpse by the time they arrived. This is Senior Thieving Cat. I obtained it several months ago during a great opportunity. Zhao Feng introduced. Greetings, Senior Thieving Cat. The expressions of the elder and company changed. This cat had easily defeated a group of Origin Core Realm experts of the Yin family and instantly killed a sovereign lord of the Origin Core Realm. Meow. The little thieving cat had a satisfied expression and acted like it was a senior. The elders of the Zhao family were even more flattered. Zhao Feng, I didn't think you'd have such fortune. With Senior Thieving Cat here, we don't need to worry about your safety. The elder in gray said. After chatting for a while, the elder's tone changed. Zhao Feng, there's something I need to tell you so you can be prepared. What is it? Cough cough. It's about your marriage with Lady Shui. Chapter 772. Engagement? Zhao Feng frowned. After taking over this body, he would try his best to fulfill some of the wishes of this person. However, he had to get rid of the engagement. In his memories, Zhao Feng's fiancée, Luo Shui, was a famous beauty in the Cloud Range. Luo Shui was only 14 or 15 years old, but her beauty was so beautiful that it could put the moon to shame. She had a pleasant temperament and was as tranquil as water. Not only that, her talent was also top-notch. She had already become the disciple of a peak-tier king a year ago. Of course, no matter how beautiful Luo Shui was, Zhao Feng felt that she was just the fiancée of his previous master. Thoughts and will were the core of a person. Even though Zhao Feng had been reborn, he was still Zhao Feng. As for the matter of the fiancé, Zhao Feng had already made up his mind to cancel the marriage. He didn't want to be embroiled in trouble and have another fiancé in this life. Right at this moment, the elder in a cloth robe spoke. Feng, I know you've admired Luo Shui for a long time, but I have to tell you something. Hearing this, Zhao Feng paused. Could there be a change in the situation? I heard that Luo Shui wants to break off the engagement. The main reason is that the 8th prince of the Great Gon Lord dynasty has his eyes on her. The elder in a cloth robe said. A year ago, Zhao Feng and Luo Shui had met once. At that time, Zhao Feng was attracted by Luo Shui's beauty. At that time, Luo Shui didn't hate Zhao Feng and even had a good impression of him. After all, Zhao Feng was a genius of the Zhao clan and a famous handsome youth. Elder, you mean that the Luo family wants to break off the engagement? Hearing this, Zhao Feng's eyes were filled with excitement and joy, but he tried to hide it. Break off the engagement? That was a good thing. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. He wanted nothing more than to break off the relationship with his fiancée. The elder in a cloth robe looked at Zhao Feng in shock. The young man before him didn't seem as angry or anxious as he had imagined. Instead, he seemed to be secretly delighted. The Luo family does intend to break off the engagement. Although this matter depended on Luo Shui. However, with the 8th prince's noble status and his imperial Dao bloodline, the Luo clan won't be able to reject him. The old man said solemnly. 8th prince, imperial bloodline. Zhao Feng felt strange in his heart. Why would the 8th prince, who was far away in the continent region's imperial capital, see Luo Shui? How noble was the status of a prince of the great Qian dynasty. Even the true disciples of three-star sects were far from being able to compare to them. The old man explained, "We have to mention Luo Shui's brother, Luo Xun. This Luo Xun is indeed impressive. He's the #1 genius of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone, and he's already a Void God Realm King." Luo Xun. There was information about this name in Zhao Feng's memory. The original Zhao Feng worshipped Luo Xun. Luo Xun became a Void God Realm King at the age of 32 and became a famous genius of the Great Qian Lord dynasty. After Luo Xun entered the continent zone, he was given a noble title and became good friends with the 8th prince. Recently, Luo Xun came to the Tianfeng Great Island Zone with the 8th prince to visit the duke's palace, but he accidentally saw Luo Shui. The old man in gray told Zhao Feng everything. Zhao Feng started to think. This was undoubtedly good news for him. Furthermore, the Yunling Zhao clan couldn't offend the 8th prince. If that's the case, then let's break off the engagement. Zhao Feng said decisively. Break off the engagement? The elder and company in gray were slightly surprised. Not only was Zhao Feng not angry or unwilling, he even asked to break off the engagement so decisively. Zhao Feng, it's good that you've thought it through. We're worried that Luo Shui's brother, Luo Xun, will go to the 10,000 Sacred Clan to pressure you. That's right. Although Luo Xun is a genius, he's extremely domineering. The elders of the family were obviously wary and respectful when they mentioned Luo Xun's name. Don't worry, the engagement is settled. Zhao Feng waved his hand impatiently. The eyes of the elder in gray twinkled, and he wanted to say something. He stared at Zhao Feng for a while and felt that something was wrong. So. Right at this moment, the members of the 10,000 Sacred Clan arrived. This included Senior Marshal Brother Guang. Seeing this scene, Senior Marshal Brother Guang was obviously surprised. Zhao Feng's luck is so good that the elders of the family are here to save him. Unhappiness appeared in Senior Marshal Brother Guang's eyes. How many times had Zhao Feng passed through danger from the Wuyo forest until now? He was able to avoid danger every time. Zhao Feng said goodbye to the elders of the family, and his sharp gaze swept across Senior Marshal Brother Guang. Senior Marshal Brother Guang's heart went cold. Zhao Feng's gaze made him feel uneasy and guilty. This Senior Marshal Brother Guang colluded with the Yin family and tried to kill me many times. However, he's a disciple of a king. I'll take care of him when the time is right. Zhao Feng had his own plans. Flawless Zone. The newly built Lord dynasty was destroyed in one night. The 10,000 sacred clans suffered very few losses. The entire process was a massacre. On the same day, the group from the 10,000 sacred clan left the Flawless Zone on a limitless ocean ship and left behind a legend. Creating a Lord dynasty was a taboo. This would be passed down in the Flawless Zone for generations, just like the Azure Flower continent. Within the ship, after knowing that Zhao Feng had been assassinated, Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong asked with concern and asked to check his injuries. It wasn't hard to see that Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong had a good impression of Zhao Feng. Looking at his gentle and calm Junior Marshal Sister being so close to Zhao Feng, Senior Marshal Brother Guang was filled with jealousy. However, the Yin family's assassination attempt had been completely wiped out. Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong's care made Zhao Feng feel helpless. At first, in order to resolve Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong's suspicions, he secretly used a heart-controlling eye bloodline technique to affect her emotions and make her have a good impression of him. However, he didn't expect Senior Marshal Sister Wan Rong to have feelings for him. Zhao Feng didn't dare to use this heart-controlling eye bloodline technique too obviously. For example, Senior Marshal Brother Guang couldn't use it easily in case his master found out. However, on the way, Senior Marshal Brother Guang's jealousy and hatred made Zhao Feng enjoy it. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao, there's still 5 months until the Divine Illusion Dimension opens. If you work hard, you might have a chance. Senior Marshal Sister Wan thought of this and couldn't help but speak. When the Divine Illusion Dimension was mentioned, the young disciples couldn't help but become excited. Apparently, the Divine Illusion Dimension is a dimension left behind by an ancient god from the realm of the gods before he died. It connects to the continent once every 100 years. The divine illusion dimension contains resources from the ancient era and the ancient era. Many of the extinct plants and materials on the continent were obtained from the divine illusion dimension. The disciples discussed. Even Senior Marshal Brother Wan's eyes lit up. From Senior Marshal Sister Wan, Zhao Feng understood the situation of the divine illusion dimension. Firstly, the divine illusion dimension wasn't something that a single force or clan could have. This dimension was said to be left behind by a god, and it connected to the entire continent zone and the nearby seas. In other words, as long as they had the ability, all the powerful forces and families in the continent zone could connect to it. However, due to the fact that it was very weak, the connected spatial passageway was relatively weak. If a virtual god expert entered, it would be unstable. Normally, all the big powers and sects would send half-step kings and experts under them in. However, there were a few who could send void god realm kings in safely. The divine illusion dimension wasn't an inheritance, it was a dimension that had been abandoned by a god. Every 100 years, it would connect to the continent zone. Furthermore, it didn't have an age limit, only cultivation. Even experts of the older generation could enter. Could be said that this was the biggest event of the continent zone. In the divine illusion dimension, one could meet imperials, geniuses of big families, and non-human experts. Even members of 3-star and even 4-star sects would appear in the divine illusion dimension, regardless of age. No wonder. The connection to the divine illusion dimension would make the blood of the core disciples boil. Since there are large amounts of resources in this dimension, I obviously won't miss it. Zhao Feng said unconsciously. He was the same as the child demigod. His eyes lit up when he heard about resources. The moment these words were said, it caused the other people on the ship to sneer and laugh. Brat, you don't even have the cultivation of a true lord rank, and you want to go to the divine illusion dimension? An elder at the origin core realm said playfully. The experts of the older generation were also very interested in the divine illusion dimension. However, there weren't many spots for the older generation. Some clans and forces wanted to leave this fortune to the younger generation with more potential. Furthermore, some of the fortune in the divine illusion dimension had a certain age and talent limit. Junior Marshal Brother Zhao, I think you should wait 100 years. The weakest cultivator from the 10,000 sacred clan that has entered the divine illusion dimension is a peak true lord rank or a half-step origin core realm. Senior Marshal Brother Guang laughed. He had finally found a chance to attack Zhao Feng. Of course. He forgot that Zhao Feng had spiritual pets. Spiritual pets that were borrowed couldn't compete, but spiritual pets that were tamed and contracted weren't restricted. Furthermore, the 10,000 sacred clan didn't have a cultivation limit for those that competed. 3 days later, the limitless ocean ship arrived at the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. 10,000 sacred clan, Hall of Missions. The group received a generous reward. Being the leader, the elder in white robes received the most generous reward. Zhao Feng also received a reward that even normal true spirit realms would be moved by. After handing in the mission, Zhao Feng then went to the trading castle and received the primal crystal stones for the 2 mud poison lizard kings. Unknowingly, Zhao Feng's wealth had increased. He used these rewards and primal crystal stones to trade for some body-strengthening resources. Most importantly, cultivating the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body required a lot of energy and resources. Did you know that the #1 genius of the Tianfeng Great Island Zone, Luo Zun, has come to visit the clan? Luo Zun is one of the strongest kings of the Great Gon Lord dynasty. It's said that a mysterious figure has arrived as well, and the elders of our sect have to personally receive him, Zhang Xian said. On the way back to his residence, Zhao Feng heard the discussion of some disciples. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. Luo Shui's brother had come so quickly? After returning to his residence, Zhao Feng opened the array and put up the seclusion token. He didn't want his recultivation plan to be interrupted. Chapter 773. Now that Zhao Feng had a certain amount of resources, he started to focus on cultivating the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body. He was going to try to break through to the third level of the sacred lightning body. Zhao Feng's body was soaked in the body-strengthening liquid, and wisps of wind lightning started to appear on the surface of his body as it started to refine his body. Normally speaking, body-strengthening techniques required a lot of willpower and determination to progress. Luckily, Zhao Feng had used the Immortal Springs wine and other items before, which allowed his body to change. Although his body hadn't been fully refined yet, his state of existence was close to the small origin core realm. The sacred lightning body could use the wind lightning technique to refine his body, which was an advantage. Therefore, even with enough resources, his cultivation was still very smooth. It could be described as advancing by leaps and bounds. Right as Zhao Feng was cultivating Wang, two surges of magnificent force appeared in the air above his courtyard, causing the air around him to feel pressured. The light from the magnificent powers slowly faded, revealing the figures of two young males. These two males were dragons and phoenixes amongst men, and they had extraordinary auras. Eighth Prince, this should be where Zhao Feng is staying. A muscular youth with thick eyebrows and wearing a large black robe said. His eyes were like lightning and he gave off a pressure. Luo Zun, don't do anything rash. The eighth prince raised his hand and smiled. If others know that I, Zhou Lu, as a prince, forcefully stole someone else's fiancée, it would be a stain to the Imperial's reputation. Compared to Luo Zun's dominance, the eighth prince's actions were gentle. Not to mention his identity, the eighth prince himself was a talented man with a handsome appearance. At this moment, many people had gathered near Zhao Feng's courtyard to watch. After all, two Void God Realm Kings had arrived. Furthermore, the eighth prince and Luo Zun were both top geniuses of the Lord dynasty. Of course, most of the disciples present didn't know the eighth prince's identity. Brother Luo? You're here to find Zhao Feng? This brat seems to have heard some news, and he immediately entered seclusion. Senior brother Guang walked forward respectfully. Of course, senior brother Guang knew Luo Zun. This kid is purposely avoiding me? Luo Zun's face darkened. There was a hint of anger in his eyes. According to Hirota, when Zhao Feng heard the news of his arrival, he immediately went into seclusion. It was obvious that he was acting shamelessly, refusing to give up on the engagement. Brother Luo, this is human nature. The eighth prince was not surprised, and he still had a smile on his face. After all, Luo Shu'er was so outstanding, and the Luo clan was a great clan in the Tianfeng Great Island Zone. The eighth prince could understand the mentality of ordinary people wanting to climb up the social ladder. Zhao Feng, disrespectful brat, do you think you can marry my sister with this method? Luo Zun harumphed. An invisible magnificent power enveloped Zhao Feng's courtyard. The defensive array formation over the courtyard suddenly dimmed and creaked, as if it would shatter at any moment. Within the room Zhao Feng was cultivating, and he snickered coldly when he sensed this. What bastard is this? This is the 10,000 Sacred Clan. How dare you do as you please? The 10,000 Sacred Clan had strict rules. When a core disciple was in seclusion, they couldn't be disturbed unless there was a special situation. Luo Zun's actions could be said to be provoking the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Brother Luo, don't be rash. The eighth prince Zhou Lu stopped Luo Zun. Luo Zun was enraged, but he knew that he couldn't do anything to Zhao Feng in the territory of the 10,000 Sacred Clan. Furthermore, the Luo family was the one that wanted to break the engagement. In terms of morality, the Luo family couldn't stand on their side. On the other hand, Zhao Feng was the weaker one, and he stood on the moral high ground. At this moment, Luo Zun and the eighth prince were in an awkward situation. They didn't expect that Zhao Feng wouldn't even give face to a king and wouldn't come out. Brother Luo, don't worry. This brat will come out of seclusion sooner or later. He needs to receive the clan's salary, trade resources, complete missions, etc. Senior Marshal Brother Guang said. He immediately patted his chest and promised that he would send people to keep an eye on Zhao Feng. As soon as Zhao Feng came out of seclusion, he would notify Luo Zun immediately. I still need to wait for that Zhao Feng to sign the contract in case he goes back on his word in the future. Luo Xun nodded his head in satisfaction. In his mind, Zhao Feng was already acting like a hoodlum, so he had to make sure that this matter was flawless. Right as Luo Xun and the 8th prince turned around and left, Luo Xun, 8th prince, you don't need to come back. You don't have to come anymore. I'll cancel the engagement with Luo Shui. A faint voice sounded. After speaking, Zhao Feng threw a letter that he had just written out of the courtyard. Luo Xun reached out and caught the letter. Seeing on the letter, there were 2 striking and wild characters, divorce letter. The 2 large words contained a strange impact of the intent realm. Even Luo Xun and the 8th prince's hearts shook slightly when they saw it, let alone those below the void god realm. Divorce letter? Brat. How dare you divorce my sister? Luo Xun was enraged, and his magnificent power shook heaven and earth. The terrifying magnificent power of heaven and earth made the nearby disciples suffocate, and their hearts beat faster. The 8th prince's expression became ugly as well when he saw the divorce letter. Luo Xun, what do you want? I don't want to marry your sister. Isn't that what you want? A cold and indifferent voice echoed in the void. In this world, the male side's rejection letter was the divorce letter. The female side usually didn't have the right to reject the marriage. They could only break off the engagement, which went against morality. Zhao Feng's decision was very straightforward. He didn't want his cultivation to be interrupted again and again. Luo Xun roared, but he didn't know what to say. Indeed, he wanted to talk to Zhao Feng and break off the engagement. Zhao Feng was very straightforward and used the normal method in this world to break off the engagement, a divorce letter. However, he didn't expect that. His beautiful sister from the great Luo family had been divorced by this brat. Luo Xun was filled with anger and dissatisfaction. The 8th prince's expression became gloomy for the first time. He was a prince of the great Gon Lord dynasty. If he married a concubine who had been divorced by another man, he wouldn't be able to live with his face. At the end of the day, it was all about face. Being the dominant side, the Luo family wanted to break off the engagement and compensate the Zhao family, even if it was against morality. Logically speaking, since Zhao Feng was the groom, breaking off the engagement was perfectly justifiable, but it would hurt the Luo family and the 8th prince's dignity. Zhao Feng, you will pay for what you did today. Luo Xun's angry roar echoed in the air, and his magnificent power made heaven and earth fall into a world of ice and fire. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly within the room. Luo Xun cultivated a rare ice and fire technique. It was extremely difficult to deal with the elements of ice and fire. On top of that, Luo Xun could faintly see the outline of a spatial domain. This meant that he wasn't far away from becoming a domain-level king. Luo Xun. Several king intents appeared in the air. This is the territory of the 10,000 sacred clan. Please control yourself. It was obvious. Luo Xun's anger and magnificent power made the elders of the 10,000 sacred clan unhappy. No matter what, the 10,000 sacred clan was once a 3-star power and had a strong foundation. If it wasn't necessary, the 8th prince didn't want to offend the 10,000 sacred clan. In the Lord dynasty, the forces of the Lord dynasty and the forces of the Lord dynasty had always been balanced. Zhao Feng will see. Luo Xun suppressed his anger and left Zhao Feng's courtyard with the slightly gloomy 8th prince. Zhao Feng stood on the moral high ground, and they couldn't use force in the 10,000 sacred clan. Within the room, Zhao Feng was immersed in cultivation. He didn't put Luo Xun's threat to heart. In the blink of an eye. Half a month had passed, and Zhao Feng's golden Kuan's sacred lightning body had broken through to the 3rd level. From now on, Zhao Feng could kill true lord ranks with just his physical body alone, and he was unparalleled under the origin core realm. If he used the wind lightning technique, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Before this, Zhao Feng's 5 elemental wind lightning technique had broken through to the 3rd level and was approaching the peak 3rd level. At this moment in time, he placed his focus back on the wind lightning technique. The higher the level of the wind lightning technique, the faster the sacred lightning body would progress. In the most ideal state, Zhao Feng's wind lightning technique would always surpass the sacred lightning body by 1.5 levels. Zhao Feng planned to cultivate the 5 elemental wind lightning technique to the 4th level before going back to the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body. However, the 4th level of the wind lightning technique was a turning point. The 4th level was the beginning of the 5 elemental wind lightning. The 5 elemental wind lightning technique focuses on the 5 elements. Metal gives birth to water, water gives birth to wood, wood gives birth to fire, fire gives birth to earth, earth gives birth to metal. After reaching the 10th level, the 5 elemental wind lightning can form a perfect cycle. Zhao Feng's thoughts were very clear. What was even more amazing was that the 4th level of the 5 elemental wind lightning technique could start with one of the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, earth. Out of the 5 basic elements, he could choose any one of them to use as his starting elemental wind and lightning. The first 5 elemental wind lightning was very important as the foundation. From the 4th to the 6th level, the first 5 elemental wind lightning was the foundation. After that, every level would give birth to a new 5 elemental wind lightning. The 4th level is the key. The first 5 elemental wind lightning needs to be chosen carefully. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled. At this moment, he started to think. If he wanted stronger attacks at the beginning, fire and metal were good choices. If he wanted strong defense and foundation, earth, wind, lightning was the best choice. Apart from that, water and wood had their own advantages. Wood had the effect of increasing one's lifespan. It was also good at healing and support. But at the end, Zhao Feng chose water. Water was deep and had the most variations. It could be hard and soft. It could melt ice and strengthen attacks. Apart from that, it was also good at healing and defense. At the same time, water was the source of life. As the first 5 elemental wind lightning, its foundation wouldn't be much weaker than earth. There was another important point. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye would change the bloodline of this body and he would be able to use the ice imperial spear soon. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's comprehension of ice and water was only below wind lightning in his previous life. Several days later, Zhao Feng's 5 elemental wind lightning technique had reached the peak of the 3rd level and had the requirements to reach the 4th level. In this period of time, Zhao Feng's cultivation broke through to the true Lord rank. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.